A woman saves the life of a mafia boss. In that moment, her whole life crumbles. Serena Vale just wants to raise her child. But when she sees a strangely stained cork, her maternal instincts kick in. She warns the man lurking in the shadows. That man is Lucian Moretti, the man the whole city fears. Gunfire, fire, blood. The next morning, Serena and her 5-year-old daughter wake up in a mountain villa, surrounded by armed bodyguards. Her old world is dead, and the war between the crime families has just begun. Watch to the end. Like. And comment where you're watching from. I want to know how far this story has come. Rain came down hard that night. Not the gentle kind that whispered against windows. This was the violent stuff. The kind that hammered metal dumpsters in back alleys and turned storm drains into rivers. Blackwater City wore its ugliness openly after dark. Neon signs flickered above shuttered pawn shops. Steam rose from subway grates like breath from something dying underground. And tucked between a Chinese takeout joint and a parking garage that smelled like piss and motor oil sat Rosso Vino, the kind of upscale Italian restaurant where politicians brought their mistresses and hedge fund managers celebrated ruining people's retirements. Serena Vale moved through the dining room with practiced efficiency, her black serving apron tied tight around a waist that had never quite recovered from pregnancy. 5 years since Mia was born. 5 years of double shifts and daycare bills that swallowed her paychecks whole. Her face showed the wear. Lines around her eyes from too many sleepless nights. Hair pulled back so tight it gave her headaches. But she was good at this, balancing plates, reading customers, staying invisible until someone needed their water refilled. The dinner rush had thinned to just a handful of tables, mostly couples leaning across candlelight, trying to remember why they'd fallen in love before mortgages and arguments about whose turn it was to take out the trash. Serena cleared table 7 without making eye contact, smiled at table 9, even though the businessman there had touched her lower back twice and she'd wanted to dump marinara sauce in his lap both times. Then Vincent, the floor manager, appeared at her elbow. His cologne was too strong. Always had been. "Table 12 needs you," he said quietly. Serena glanced toward the back corner. Private booth. Heavy velvet curtains drawn almost completely closed. She couldn't see who sat behind them. "I've got 6 other tables," she said. He asked for you specifically." Vincent's voice dropped lower. "Don't screw this up. Guy's dropping serious money tonight." Something cold moved through her chest. "He asked for me by name? Just go." Vincent walked away before she could argue. Serena stood there for a moment, tray balanced on her hip, trying to figure out what kind of trouble was waiting behind those curtains. Nobody asked for servers by name. Not unless they were planning something. She thought about Mia asleep at her neighbor's apartment 3 floors above their own studio. Thought about the $17 in her checking account and the electricity bill due Tuesday. She went to the booth. The curtains parted just enough for her to slip through. The space inside was dim. A single candle burned in the center of the table. The man sitting there had his back to the wall. Standard move for someone who didn't trust the world. He wore an expensive black suit, no tie. His dark hair was pushed back from a face that could have belonged to some European model, except for the hardness in his eyes. Young, maybe early 30s, the kind of handsome that made women stupid. But Serena had been married to handsome once, knew exactly how much it was worth. "You're Serena." Not a question. His voice was smooth, controlled. The accent underneath suggested money and private schools. "That's right." She kept her voice neutral, professional. "What can I get you?" He gestured to the wine list on the table. "The 2001 Barolo, Canubi Vineyard." Serena blinked. That bottle cost $1,800. She'd worked here 2 years and nobody had ever ordered it. "I'll need to check with—" "I already spoke with the owner. He's pulling it from the cellar now." The man leaned back slightly. Candlelight caught the edge of his jaw. "You know wine?" "Enough to pour it." "Your father was Giovanni Russo." The world tilted sideways. Serena gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. Nobody had spoken her father's real name in years. She'd buried it along with everything else after she'd married Danny Vale and tried to build something normal, something safe. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said quietly. "Yes, you do." He studied her face with the intensity of someone reading a contract for loopholes. Giovanni managed accounts for several business interests in the city before his death. Very particular business interests. My father worked in accounting, regular accounting, for regular businesses. Is that what you tell yourself? Rage flared hot behind her ribs. She wanted to throw the wine list at his perfect face, wanted to walk out of this booth and never look back. But she needed this job, needed every shift she could get. If you're looking for someone, she said carefully, you've got the wrong person. My father died 7 years ago in a car accident. I don't know anything about his work. I was 19 and pregnant and trying to figure out how to survive. So unless you want to order food with that wine, I've got other tables. The man watched her for a long moment, then nodded toward the curtain. Bring the Barolo. And 2 glasses. 2? You'll be joining me. I'm working. You're about to take a break. His tone didn't change, but something in it made arguing feel dangerous. Vincent already cleared it. Serena's jaw tightened. She pushed through the curtain without responding and headed for the bar. Her hands were shaking. Giovanni Russo. Nobody should know that name. She'd been Serena Vale for 6 years, had wiped every trace of her father's past from her life after the funeral, after the investigators had shown up asking questions about missing money and offshore accounts and connections to people whose names appeared in police reports. She told them the truth then, told them again when they came back. And eventually they'd left her alone because 19-year-old single mothers working at grocery stores weren't worth the paperwork. But someone remembered. And now he was sitting in her section ordering wine that cost more than her monthly rent. The owner himself brought the Barolo up from the cellar. He handled the bottle like it was a newborn. Dust covered the label. The wax seal on the cork was intact. Table 12? He asked. Serena nodded. Be very careful with this. He placed it on her tray with both hands. This wine is older than you are. She carried it back to the booth. The weight of it felt wrong, like she was transporting a bomb instead of fermented grapes. She slipped through the curtain again. The man hadn't moved. He sat in the exact same position, watching the flame dance on the candle between them. Serena set down 2 crystal glasses and began the ritual, showed him the label. He nodded. She cut the wax seal with the house knife and worked the corkscrew into the cork with practiced efficiency. The cork resisted. Old wine always did. She applied steady pressure and felt it start to give. Then she saw the stain. It was subtle. Most people would have missed it. But Serena had watched her father inspect wine bottles for years when she was a kid. Before everything went to hell. Before she understood what his real business was. The cork had a dark residue near the bottom, not the normal purple-red of wine seepage. This was different, chemical, wrong. Her hands froze on the corkscrew. The man noticed immediately. Problem? Serena stared at the cork. Her brain screamed at her to stay quiet. Pour the wine. Walk away. She had $17 in her checking account and a daughter who needed new shoes. Getting involved in whatever this was could destroy everything she'd spent years building, but her father's voice echoed in her memory, faint, distant. Always check the cork, Piccola. The cork tells you everything. She looked up and met the man's eyes. Don't drink this, she said quietly. His expression didn't change. Excuse me? The cork. She turned the bottle so he could see. Look at the stain pattern. That's not tannin bleed. Someone tampered with it. You're certain? My father taught me how to spot compromised bottles. Her voice was steady, even though her pulse hammered in her throat. This wine has been poisoned. For 3 seconds, neither of them moved. The restaurant noise beyond the curtain seemed very far away. Silverware scraping plates, low conversation, piano music drifting from the bar. Then everything exploded. The curtain ripped back. 2 men in dark coats burst through with guns already raised. Professional, fast, no hesitation. The man in the booth moved like violence was a language he spoke fluently. His hand shot across the table and grabbed Serena's wrist, yanking her down as the first shot shattered the wine bottle into a spray of red and glass. She hit the booth's leather seat hard. Her ears rang. The candle toppled and rolled across the table, trailing flame. More gunfire, screaming from the dining room. She heard Vincent shouting something about calling the police. Heard plates crashing, heard the wet, heavy sound of bullets hitting flesh. The man dragged her out of the booth on the opposite side, using the heavy table as cover. His gun appeared from somewhere inside his jacket. Black metal, extension on the barrel that made the shots sound like coughs instead of explosions. He fired twice over the table. Both shooters went down. But there were more. Glass shattered near the entrance. More figures in dark coats poured into the restaurant like floodwater. Customers scrambled for exits. Tables overturned. A woman in a red dress tripped and fell, and Serena watched helplessly as people trampled over her, trying to escape. "Kitchen," the man said, not asking, ordering. He pulled Serena toward the back. She stumbled after him in a daze, trying to process what was happening. Her ears rang from the gunfire. Her wrist ached where he gripped it. They crashed through the kitchen doors into chaos. Cooks scattered. Someone dropped an entire tray of pasta. The head chef pressed himself against the walk-in freezer with his hands up like that would stop bullets. More gunfire behind them. The kitchen doors swung wildly. The man beside Serena fired backward without looking, pure suppressive instinct. Then he dragged her toward the back loading dock where they brought in deliveries. "Wait," Serena managed. "Wait, I can't." "You stay here. You die." He kicked open the loading dock door. Rain hammered down outside. "They're not here for the wine. They're here because I was about to drink it." "I don't understand." "You will." He pulled her out into the storm. The loading dock was a concrete platform 3 feet above an alley swimming in trash and runoff. A black car sat idling 30 feet away, headlights cutting through the rain. The man jumped down and turned back for her. Behind them, the kitchen doors exploded inward. Men with guns. So many guns. Serena jumped. Her ankle twisted when she hit the wet concrete, but she didn't go down. The man's hand closed around her arm again, and they ran toward the car. Bullets sparked off metal dumpsters. Rain turned everything into a blur. They reached the car, and he shoved her into the back seat, dove in after her. Someone was already behind the wheel. A bald man built like a concrete block who gunned the engine before the doors even closed. The car launched forward. Serena slammed against the leather seat, looked back through the rear window, and saw the gunmen pouring out of the restaurant, saw muzzle flashes lighting up the rain, saw the alley receding behind them as they fishtailed onto the main street and accelerated into traffic. Her chest heaved. She couldn't get air, couldn't think. The man beside her was already on his phone. "We're blown," he said quietly. Restaurant was a setup. Clean the site and initiate Protocol 7. A pause. "Yes, both of us." He ended the call and looked at Serena. "Do you have a daughter?" Ice water dumped down her spine. "How do you answer the question?" "Yes." Her voice broke. "Mia, she's 5. She's at my neighbor's apartment." "Not anymore." He leaned forward. "Marcus, take us to the Orchid Street address." The driver nodded and changed lanes aggressively, cutting off a taxi that laid on its horn. Serena grabbed the man's arm. "What the hell does that mean, not anymore? Where's my daughter?" "Being moved to a secure location." His tone was matter-of-fact, clinical. "I had people watching her the moment I learned you were Giovanni's daughter. Tonight proved I was right to take that precaution." "You had people watching." Rage overwhelmed the fear. "You son of a bitch, if you hurt her." "Oh, if I wanted to hurt her, I would have." He pulled his arm free. "You saved my life tonight. That means something. Means I keep both of you alive. But understand this. The people who tried to kill me will come for you now. They'll use your daughter to get to you. Use you to get to me. The only way you survive is under my protection." "I don't even know who you are." The car took a corner too fast. Serena braced herself against the door. The man's eyes were flat, empty of anything resembling warmth. "My name is Lucien Moretti," he said, "and as of 10 seconds ago, you belong to me." The name hit her like a fist. Everyone in Blackwater City knew that name, knew it the way you knew the names of hurricanes or diseases. Moretti. The family that controlled half the illegal money moving through the eastern seaboard. The organization that buried its enemies under highway construction projects and inside the walls of condemned buildings. Lucien Moretti had inherited the empire 6 months ago when his father was assassinated outside a federal courthouse. The killing had been brutal, public, a message from rivals who thought the son would be weaker than the father. They'd been wrong. In 6 months, Lucien had consolidated power through a combination of strategic violence and calculated mercy. Bodies turned up in dumpsters with their tongues cut out. Entire operations vanished overnight. And through it all, he remained untouchable. The police couldn't pin anything on him. The FBI task force dedicated to bringing down the Morettis had nothing but circumstantial evidence and corpses too afraid to talk even from beyond the grave. And Serena had just saved his life. "My daughter," she said quietly. I need to see my daughter. You will, once we're secure. Where are you taking us? Somewhere they can't reach you. The car drove through streets that grew progressively darker and emptier. They left the commercial district behind, passed through industrial zones of shuttered warehouses and chain-link fences. Serena watched the city slip away through rain-streaked windows and felt her old life dissolving with every mile. She thought about Mia, thought about her daughter's small face, the gap in her front teeth, the way she always asked for one more bedtime story. Thought about all the ways she'd tried to build something clean and normal and safe. All of it gone, because she'd recognized a stain on a wine cork. The people who tried to kill you, Serena said. Who are they? The Castellano cartel. Lucien stared out his window. They've been trying to take my territory for the last 3 months. Tonight was supposed to be a peace negotiation. Obviously, it was an execution instead. Why did they poison the wine? Why not just shoot you? Because that's not how these things work. Poisoning me inside a public restaurant sends a specific message. Makes me look weak. Makes my organization look vulnerable. His jaw tightened. They wanted it to seem like I died quietly, like I choked on my expensive wine while everyone else kept eating their pasta. And the guns? Backup plan. When you spotted the poison, they moved to plan B. He turned to look at her. You have good instincts. Your father taught you well. My father taught me how to identify wine. That's all. Is it? Serena didn't answer. Couldn't answer, because the truth was complicated and ugly, and she'd spent years trying not to think about it. The car turned onto a private road. Trees pressed close on both sides. No streetlights, just darkness and the sweep of headlights across wet pavement. They climbed into foothills that overlooked the city's sprawl. Up here the storm felt different, heavier, like the sky was trying to press them back down to sea level. Eventually they reached a gate, 12 feet tall, heavy steel, cameras mounted on both sides. The gate rolled open before they reached it. Beyond the gate lay a compound, 3 buildings arranged in a rough triangle. The main house was a modern structure of glass and stone that looked like something from an architecture magazine. Security lights illuminated manicured grounds, more cameras, more fences, and men with rifles patrolling in pairs. The car stopped in front of the main house. Lucien got out first. Serena followed, her wet clothes clinging to her skin. The rain had softened to a drizzle. She looked back the way they'd come, but couldn't see anything beyond the trees and darkness. A woman emerged from the house. Older, maybe 60. Her gray hair was pulled back in a severe bun. She wore a dark pantsuit and an expression that suggested she'd seen everything terrible the world had to offer and wasn't impressed. Mrs. Chen, Lucien said. Status? The girl is inside, 2nd floor. Rosa is with her. Mrs. Chen's eyes moved to Serena. No injuries? None that matter. Lucien gestured toward the house. Get her cleaned up, fresh clothes, food if she wants it. And after? Keep her comfortable. Keep her watched. Mrs. Chen nodded and turned toward Serena. This way. Serena didn't move. I want to see Mia first. You will, Mrs. Chen said. After you've cleaned yourself up. Your daughter is safe. She's asleep. You walking in looking like you survived a war will only frighten her. It wasn't a request. Serena looked at Lucien, but his expression offered nothing. He'd already dismissed her from his attention, phone out again, speaking quietly to someone about damage control and body disposal. She followed Mrs. Chen inside. The house was as cold and perfect as it looked from the outside. Everything was white or gray or black. Expensive abstract art hung on walls. The furniture looked like it had never been sat on. It felt more like a museum than a home. Mrs. Chen led her upstairs to a bedroom suite that was larger than Serena's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the compound. A king-sized bed with white linens. A bathroom with heated marble floors. Shower, change. Mrs. Chen laid a set of dark clothes on the bed. I'll send Rosa to take you to your daughter when you're ready. She left before Serena could respond. Alone in the room, Serena finally let herself shake. Her knees gave out and she sat hard on the edge of the bed. Blood roared in her ears. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She'd saved a crime lord's life, had watched people die in front of her, had her daughter taken by armed strangers. And now she was trapped in a fortress on a mountain with nowhere to run and no one to call for help. The shower was automatic. She didn't remember undressing or washing, just stood under scalding water until her skin turned red and the worst of the shaking stopped. The clothes Mrs. Chen left fit perfectly. Black pants, black shirt, both expensive and impersonal. When she emerged from the bathroom, a younger woman waited in the bedroom. Hispanic. Early 20s. She smiled in a way that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Rosa. I'll take you to Mia." Serena followed her down the hall to another suite. This one had been decorated differently. Softer. A child's room. Pink walls. Stuffed animals arranged on shelves. And in the middle of the bed, curled under a thick blanket, was Mia. Serena's daughter slept soundly, her dark hair spread across the pillow, one hand clutching a stuffed rabbit Serena had never seen before. "She woke up about an hour ago," Rosa said quietly. "Asked for you. We told her you were at work, but would be here soon. She went back to sleep after that." Serena moved to the bed, sat carefully on the edge, touched her daughter's hair with trembling fingers. Mia stirred but didn't wake. Her breathing was slow and even. "How did you get her?" Serena asked without looking away from her daughter. "We were already watching the apartment building. When Mr. Moretti gave the order, we moved. Your neighbor didn't even wake up. That's called kidnapping. That's called protection." Rosa moved toward the door. "I'll be right outside if you need anything. Try to get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be complicated." She left. Serena sat on the edge of her daughter's bed and tried to remember how to breathe. Outside the windows, dawn was starting to break. Gray light seeped across the mountains. She could see the compound below, the fences, the patrol routes, the men with guns who kept the world at bay. Her old life had ended the moment she spotted the stain on that cork. But what came next? What happened to single mothers who saved mafia bosses? What happened to their daughters? She lay down next to Mia, pulled the blanket over both of them. Her daughter's small body was warm and solid and real. The only thing left in the world that still made sense. Serena closed her eyes and tried not to think about all the ways this could end, but sleep wouldn't come. Because somewhere in this fortress of stone and steel and violence, Lucien Moretti was planning their future, and Serena had no say in it at all. Hours passed. The light through the windows grew brighter. Mia woke around 8, confused and scared until she saw her mother. Then she launched herself into Serena's arms with the desperate grip of a child who'd sensed something was very wrong. "Where are we?" Mia asked. "Why didn't you come home?" "We're somewhere safe, baby." Serena smoothed her daughter's hair. "I had to work late. I'm sorry. I don't like it here." "I know. Can we go home?" "Not yet." Mia pulled back. Her dark eyes, so much like her father's, searched Serena's face. "Are we in trouble?" "No, we're just staying with someone for a while." "Who?" Before Serena could answer, the door opened. Lucien walked in. He'd changed clothes. The expensive suit was gone, replaced by dark jeans and a black Henley that did nothing to make him look less dangerous. He stopped just inside the doorway. Mia shrank against her mother. "You're Mia," Lucien said. Not quite a question. The girl nodded. "I'm Lucien. Your mother is going to be working for me for a while. You'll both stay here." He looked at Serena. "Mrs. Chen has breakfast ready downstairs. Come when you're ready." He left as abruptly as he'd arrived. Mia looked up at her mother. Mama, I'm scared." "I know, baby." Serena held her daughter tighter. "Me too." They went downstairs eventually, found the dining room through a series of hallways that all looked identical. Mrs. Chen had set out eggs, toast, fresh fruit, and coffee that smelled like it cost more than Serena's weekly grocery budget. Lucien sat at the head of the table with a tablet in front of him, reading something that put hard lines in his forehead. He barely acknowledged them. Serena fed Mia, watched her daughter eat slowly, eyes darting around the room like she expected something to jump out of the walls. The silence pressed down heavy. Nobody spoke except Mia, who whispered questions Serena couldn't answer. Finally, Lucien set down the tablet. "The Castellanos know you're alive," he said flatly. "They have people inside the police department. Got word about the restaurant before we could lock it down." "What does that mean?" Serena asked. "It means they're looking for you. Means they think you have information." "I don't have anything." "They don't believe that. And honestly, neither do I." He leaned back in his chair. Your father managed accounts for some very dangerous people before he died. The Castellanos, the Russians, even my father had dealings with him. When Giovanni disappeared, a lot of money went with him. Money people want back. My father died in a car accident. Your father was murdered. Lucien's tone didn't change, still flat, clinical. The accident was staged. Everyone in this world knows it, including you, if you're honest with yourself. Serena's throat tightened. She looked at Mia, who was pushing eggs around her plate, not eating. Not in front of my daughter. Your daughter is going to hear a lot worse than this if you don't start cooperating. He stood. Finish eating, then we talk, privately. He walked out. Mrs. Chen appeared from the kitchen. Rosa will take Mia to the playroom while you speak with Mr. Moretti. She'll be safe. No. Serena's voice was firm. She stays with me. That's not how this works. I don't care how this works. She doesn't leave my sight. Mrs. Chen studied her for a long moment, then nodded. I'll inform Mr. Moretti. 20 minutes later, Serena sat across from Lucien in what he called his office. It was a room of dark wood and leather. Books lined the walls. A huge desk dominated the space. Windows overlooked the compound below. Mia sat on a leather couch in the corner with Rosa, who'd brought coloring books and crayons. The girl colored quietly, stealing glances at the adults. Your father kept records, Lucien said without preamble. Ledgers, names, transactions, information that could destroy half the criminal operations on the eastern seaboard. I don't have anything like that. But you know where it is? No. Serena. He leaned forward. I'm trying to keep you alive. That means I need to understand what we're dealing with. The Castellanos think you have those records. They'll tear apart everyone you've ever known to find them. Your neighbors, your coworkers, anyone who might have them. His eyes moved to Mia. Anyone you might have hidden them with. Cold fear spiked through her. You leave her out of this. Then give me something I can use. I told you, I don't know anything about records or ledgers. When my father died, I was 19. I didn't even go through his things. The police took everything. Boxes of files, his computer, everything. And after the police? What do you mean? What happened to his personal effects? Things the police didn't take? Serena's mind raced backward through years she'd tried to forget. After the funeral, after the investigators finally gave up, she'd cleaned out her father's small apartment, had sold most of the furniture, thrown away clothes and books, and all the normal debris of a life cut short. But there had been one box. Personal items. Photos. A watch. Some bottles of wine from his collection. She'd put that box in a storage unit. Had never gone back. There's a storage unit, she said slowly, on the south side. I kept some of his personal things there, but it's just photos and sentimental stuff. Nothing important. Lucien's expression didn't change. Unit number? 237. Facility name? Blackwater Storage Solutions, on Hammond Street. He made a note on his phone. We'll check it out. There's nothing there. Maybe. Maybe not. He stood. Either way, you're staying here until we figure out what the Castellanos want and how to give it to them without getting everyone killed. How long? As long as it takes. I have a job. I have bills. I have a life. You had a life. Now you have this. He moved toward the door. Mrs. Chen will get you anything you need. Stay inside the main house. Don't wander the grounds. The men patrolling have orders to shoot first and identify bodies later. He left. Serena sat in the leather chair and tried to process everything. Her father, the records, the storage unit she hadn't thought about in years. Rosa stood. Come on, Mia. Let's see if the kitchen has cookies. Mia looked at her mother. Serena nodded. The girl went reluctantly. Alone in the office, Serena stood and walked to the windows, looked out at the compound, the fences, the forest beyond. Somewhere out there was Blackwater City, her apartment, her job, everything she'd built. All of it might as well have been on another planet. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass. She looked older, harder, like something fundamental had shifted in her bones. The door opened behind her. She turned expecting Mrs. Chen. It was Lucien again. One more thing, he said. The wine you spotted. The Barolo. What about it? Who else knew your father taught you about wine? Serena frowned. Nobody. It's not something I ever talked about. Then how did the Castellanos know to use poison? Why not just shoot me in the restaurant? I don't know. Think. She tried, pushed through exhaustion and fear and tried to make her brain work. The wine, it was expensive, rare, the kind of bottle my father would have. She stopped. Lucienne watched her carefully. Would have what? He collected rare wines, had a small collection, nothing huge, but some of them were worth thousands. Her pulse quickened. When I cleaned out his apartment, I kept a few bottles, put them in the storage unit with everything else. What kind of bottles? Barolo, Burgundy, an old Bordeaux, I think. She met his eyes. Jesus Christ. You think the records are hidden in the wine bottles? I think someone went to a lot of trouble to poison a very specific bottle of Barolo. Lucien's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. And I think your father was exactly the kind of man who would hide evidence inside something only his daughter would recognize. The room tilted. Serena grabbed the edge of the desk. We need to get to that storage unit, Lucien said. Tonight, before the Castellanos figure out what we're looking for. And if they're already watching it, then things get complicated. He moved toward the door again. Get some rest. We leave after dark. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to scream that she didn't sign up for any of this, but the words stuck in her throat because she had signed up for it. The moment she'd warned him about the poisoned wine, the moment she'd chosen to save a monster's life instead of letting him die. Now she had to live with the consequences. And outside the windows, the sun crawled across the sky toward nightfall, when everything would get worse. Serena didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. She lay next to Mia in the oversized bed and watched shadows crawl across the ceiling while her daughter's breathing stayed soft and even. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the restaurant, the blood spray, the way that woman in the red dress had fallen, the cold efficiency in Lucien's movements as he'd killed 2 men without hesitation. Around 4 in the afternoon, Rosa knocked and brought sandwiches neither of them touched. Mia picked at the bread and asked questions Serena couldn't answer. Why were they here? When could they go home? Why did the man with the scary eyes keep looking at Mama like that? Like what, baby? Like he's trying to figure out if you're lying. Smart kid. Too smart. By the time the sun started dropping behind the mountains, Serena's nerves were scraped raw. Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway without knocking. Mr. Moretti wants you downstairs. Rosa will stay with Mia. No. Serena stood. She comes with me or I don't go. Mrs. Chen's expression never changed. Your daughter will be safer here. My daughter doesn't leave my sight. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Mrs. Chen nodded slightly. Bring her, but she stays in the car. The compound had transformed as darkness fell. More lights blazed from the perimeter fences. More men moved between buildings with rifles slung across their chests. Everything felt tighter, coiled, like the whole place was holding its breath. Lucien waited by a black SUV with tinted windows. He'd changed again. All black now, tactical pants and a jacket that probably had body armor underneath. 2 other men stood nearby. One was Marcus, the driver from last night. The other was younger, Latino, with a scar that ran from his left eye to his jaw. This is Diego, Lucien said. He's coming with us. Diego nodded at Serena but didn't speak. His eyes moved to Mia and something softened there for just a second before his face went blank again. The storage facility closes at 9, Lucien continued. We have a window. Get in. Serena climbed into the back seat with Mia. The girl pressed against her side, small and tense. Diego got in front. Lucien slid in next to Serena and Marcus took the wheel. They drove in silence. The SUV moved down the mountain road with its lights off, navigating by ambient glow from the city below. Serena's stomach churned. She kept one arm around Mia and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. The facility has cameras, Lucienne said quietly. Basic security. 1 guard at the front desk who's probably watching porn on his phone. We go in clean. You access the unit. We see what's inside. Nobody gets hurt. And if the Castellanos are already there, then we adapt. That's not a plan. It's the only one you're getting. He looked at her in the darkness. Your father hid something in those wine bottles. I'm certain of it now. The question is whether he left any clues about which bottle specifically. I told you at the time, I haven't touched that stuff in 7 years. But you remember what was there. She tried. Pushed her mind back through exhaustion and fear to that afternoon she'd boxed up her father's things. There were maybe 8 bottles, some Barolo, a Brunello, couple bottles of Burgundy, one really old Bordeaux from the 50s. Labels? I don't remember. It was too much. I was dealing with funeral arrangements and an eviction notice and trying to figure out how to tell my boyfriend I was pregnant. Her voice cracked. I wasn't cataloging wine collections. Think harder. I am thinking. Not hard enough. Rage flared hot. You know what? Screw you. I'm sorry I wasn't taking detailed notes while my entire life fell apart. I'm sorry I didn't realize my father was hiding criminal evidence in his wine cellar. I was 19 and scared and alone and just trying to survive. Mia flinched against her. Serena immediately regretted raising her voice. Lucian was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Your father loved you. That much is obvious. He taught you about wine. Taught you how to spot a compromised bottle. That means he trusted you. Means he thought you'd be smart enough to figure out what he'd left behind. Maybe he didn't leave anything behind. Maybe everyone's wrong. The Castellanos don't make mistakes like this. They poisoned that specific bottle for a reason. His tone stayed level, controlled. Someone told them about you, about your father's collection, about what you might know. I don't know anyone in your world. You knew me, sort of. She frowned. What does that mean? Your father and my father did business together, years ago, before everything went to hell. Lucien stared out the window at the passing streetlights. Giovanni was one of the few people my father actually trusted. When your father died, mine spent months trying to find what he'd hidden. Came up empty. Eventually gave up. So you knew about me. Knew you existed. Didn't know where you were until about 3 weeks ago. Serena's blood went cold. You've been watching me for 3 weeks? Call it insurance. I call it stalking. Call it whatever makes you feel better. He shifted in his seat. The Castellanos found you the same way I did, which means someone's been talking. Someone who knew Giovanni kept records. Someone who knew he had a daughter who might know where they were hidden. Who? That's what we're going to find out. The SUV turned onto Hammond Street. Blackwater Storage Solutions sat between a closed tire shop and a check-cashing place with bars on the windows. The facility was a long 3-story building that looked like it had been beige once, but time and weather had turned it into a shade of industrial despair. Chain-link fence, rolling metal doors, security lights that only worked in patches. Marcus drove past slowly. I count 1 guard inside the office. No visible external patrols. Cameras, Lucian asked. 4 covering the main entrance and loading area, nothing on the sides. Park around back. They circled the block and pulled into an alley that ran behind the facility. Marcus killed the engine. For a moment, nobody moved, just sat there in the darkness, listening to metal tick as it cooled. Stay here, Lucian said to Mia. Your mother will be back soon. I want to go with her. Can't happen. Please. Diego stays with you. Anyone comes near this car who isn't us, he'll keep you safe. Lucian's voice softened slightly. Just slightly. You understand? Mia nodded, eyes wide. Serena kissed her daughter's forehead. I'll be right back, baby. 10 minutes, I promise. You promised we were safe. We are safe. Then why do you look so scared? Serena didn't have an answer for that. She climbed out of the SUV before her daughter could ask anything else. The night air was cooler up here, cleaner. The city sounds were distant, just ambient noise and the hum of traffic from the highway. Lucien and Marcus moved toward a service entrance. No conversation, just hand signals and the kind of coordination that came from working together long enough that words became unnecessary. Serena followed, her heart hammering against her ribs. Marcus produced a small toolkit and went to work on the lock. It took him maybe 15 seconds. The door clicked open and they slipped inside. The interior of the storage facility smelled like dust and old cardboard and something chemical that made Serena's eyes water. Emergency lighting cast everything in sickly green. They moved down a corridor lined with numbered units. The floor was concrete. Their footsteps echoed. 237 was on the second floor. They took stairs that were more rust than metal. Each step groaned. Serena kept expecting alarms to start screaming, kept expecting men with guns to appear from the shadows. But nothing happened. They reached the second floor, found Unit 237 halfway down the corridor. Standard roll-up door secured with a padlock that looked older than Serena. "Key?" Lucian asked. "I don't have one anymore." Marcus pulled bolt cutters from inside his jacket. The lock gave with barely a sound. He rolled the door up just enough for them to duck under. Inside was exactly as Serena remembered. Cardboard boxes stacked against the walls, an old armchair with stuffing coming out of one arm, a standing lamp with no bulb, and in the back corner, a wooden wine rack holding 8 bottles covered in dust. Lucien moved to the rack, pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam swept across the labels. Barolo, 1999. Barolo, 2001. Brunello di Montalcino, 1997. 2 bottles of Burgundy. Labels too faded to read. A Bordeaux from 1955 that looked like something from a museum, and 1 more bottle at the bottom. Serena couldn't see the label from where she stood. Lucien photographed each one, then carefully removed the 2001 Barolo and turned it in the light. "This is the same vintage they tried to poison me with. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence." He set the bottle down and reached for the Burgundies, examined each one carefully. Then the Brunello, then the old Bordeaux, which he handled like it might explode. "These are worth a fortune," he said quietly. "Your father had good taste." "He had a lot of things. Good taste, bad judgment, secrets that got him killed." Lucien didn't respond to that, just kept examining bottles. Then he stopped, stared at the last one, the one Serena couldn't see. "What is it?" she asked. He pulled the bottle from the rack, held it in the flashlight beam. The label was handwritten, not printed, just careful script on yellowed paper that had been glued to the glass. Canubi, 2001. Per la mia piccola, for my little one. Serena's throat closed up, her father's handwriting, unmistakable. "He labeled this bottle for you," Lucien said. "I never saw it before." "Because he hid it, put it at the bottom where you wouldn't notice unless you were looking." He turned the bottle slowly. "This is it. This is where he hid the records." "How do you know?" "Because everything about this bottle is wrong. Canubi is a vineyard in Barolo. They don't put the vineyard name on handwritten labels, and your father wouldn't have bothered with a sentimental message unless he was trying to tell you something." He examined the bottle more carefully, the wax seal, the cork, the glass itself. "The label," he said finally, "it's too thick." He produced a knife from his jacket. Serena started to protest, but he was already carefully sliding the blade under the edge of the label, peeling it back with surgical precision. Underneath was another layer, thin paper, covered in numbers and names written in code so small they could barely read it. Lucien photographed everything. His jaw was tight. "This is it. Account numbers, transaction codes, names I recognize." He looked at Serena. "Your father documented everything, every payment, every laundering operation, every politician on the take." He paused. "Including my father's operations." "What does that mean?" "It means the Morettis are in here too. Means this information could destroy my family's business along with everyone else's." His voice was flat. "It means your father was planning to burn down the entire criminal underworld." "Why would he do that?" "Maybe he found a conscience. Maybe he wanted out, and this was his insurance policy. Maybe he was just tired of watching bad men get away with worse things." Lucien carefully reattached the label. "Doesn't matter now. He's dead, and we have what everyone's been killing for." Footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Multiple sets, moving fast. Marcus killed his flashlight immediately. Lucien grabbed Serena's arm and pulled her behind a stack of boxes. They crouched in the darkness. Her pulse hammered so loud she was certain everyone could hear it. The footsteps grew louder, reached the second floor, kept coming down the corridor. Through a gap between boxes, Serena watched shadows move across the far wall. 4 men, maybe 5. They moved with purpose. No hesitation, knew exactly where they were going. They stopped outside Unit 237. Door's already open, someone said. Young voice, nervous. Inside, now. The first man stepped through, then another. The roll-up door rattled as they pushed it higher. Lucian's hand moved to the gun inside his jacket. He looked at Marcus, who nodded once. They had some kind of silent conversation Serena couldn't follow. Then everything exploded. Lucien moved first, stepped out from behind the boxes with his gun already raised. Don't! The men spun, went for their weapons. Marcus fired twice. 2 men dropped. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Serena's ears rang. The other men returned fire. Bullets punched through cardboard and wood. Serena pressed herself flat against the floor, hands over her head, trying to become invisible. Lucien fired 3 more times. Precise. Controlled. Another man went down. The last one ran, crashed back through the doorway and sprinted down the corridor. His footsteps faded toward the stairs. Silence fell like a weight. Serena's hands were shaking. Her breath came in short gasps. She could smell gunpowder and blood and her own fear sweat. Lucien grabbed the bottle with the hidden label. Move! Now! They ran. Back down the corridor, away from the bodies. Serena tried not to look at the dead men, but couldn't help it. Saw one with his eyes still open. Saw another with blood pooling under his head. Saw the waste of it. The stupid, meaningless violence. They hit the stairs at a full run. Marcus led. Lucien stayed behind Serena, the bottle tucked under one arm. They reached the ground floor and headed for the service entrance. More gunfire erupted from somewhere outside. Automatic weapons. The sound ripped through the night. Diego, Lucien said. Just that one word, but it carried everything. Fear, rage, calculation. They burst through the service entrance into chaos. The SUV was surrounded. 4 vehicles, men with rifles. Diego was out of the car using the open door as cover, returning fire. But he was outnumbered, outgunned. And in the back seat, visible through the window, Mia screamed. Something inside Serena snapped. She ran toward the car without thinking, without planning, just pure maternal instinct overriding every survival instinct screaming at her to hide. Lucien grabbed her and pulled her down behind a dumpster. Stay here. My daughter, I know. He and Marcus moved in opposite directions, flanking, professional. They opened fire on the men surrounding the SUV. Bodies dropped. Others scattered for cover. Diego used the distraction to advance. Took down 2 more men with precise shots. But there were too many. Someone shot him from behind. He fell hard and didn't get up. Serena watched it happen. Watched Diego, who'd stayed in the car to protect her daughter, bleed out on the concrete. Watched men close in on the SUV. Watched one of them reach for the back door. She didn't remember grabbing the gun from Lucien's backup holster. Didn't remember running toward the SUV. Didn't remember pulling the trigger. But she did all of it. The gun kicked in her hand. The shot went wide. Missed the man by a foot. But it made him turn. Made him focus on her instead of Mia. He raised his rifle. Lucien shot him before he could fire. The man dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Then Lucien was at the SUV, yanked the back door open and grabbed Mia. The girl wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face against his shoulder. He ran with her toward Serena, handed the child over without ceremony. Get to Marcus. He'll get you out. What about you? I'm ending this. He turned back toward the remaining attackers. Walked toward them with his gun raised. Just walked. Like he had all the time in the world. Like bullets weren't still flying. Like he was invincible. 2 men came around the corner of the building. Lucien shot them both before they could react. Kept walking. Found another one trying to flank Marcus. Killed him too. The last attacker broke and ran. Sprinted toward one of the vehicles and dove inside. Engine roared to life. The car peeled out in a spray of gravel and rubber. Lucien didn't chase, just stood there in the middle of the carnage, breathing hard, his gun still raised. Marcus appeared at Serena's side. Come on, we're leaving. They ran to the SUV. Diego's body lay crumpled near the front wheel. Blood everywhere. Marcus checked him quickly, shook his head. He's gone. Serena held Mia tighter. Her daughter was sobbing into her shoulder, making sounds Serena had never heard before. Primal. Animal. They climbed into the SUV. Lucien got in last, the wine bottle still somehow intact under his arm. Marcus gunned the engine and they launched out of the alley. Behind them, sirens wailed. Police, fire, maybe ambulances. The storage facility was a crime scene now. Bodies, blood, evidence everywhere. And they were racing away from it into the night with the one thing everyone had been killing for tucked under Lucia Moretti's arm like a football. Nobody spoke on the drive back. Mia cried until she couldn't cry anymore, then just shook. Serena held her and stared out the window and tried to process what had just happened. She'd shot at someone, had pulled the trigger. The fact that she'd missed didn't change what she'd been willing to do. Lucian sat rigid beside her. His jaw worked like he was grinding his teeth to powder. When they hit a red light, he pulled out his phone and made a call. It's done. We have it. Pause. Diego's dead. The facility is compromised. Clean it if you can, but don't take risks. The cops will be all over it by morning. Another pause. No, they won't find anything useful. But the Castellanos know we have what they want now. Things are going to escalate. He ended the call and looked at Serena. When we get back, Mrs. Chen will take care of Mia. You and I need to talk. I'm not leaving her. Yes, you are. Because what we're about to discuss isn't something a 5-year-old needs to hear. I don't care what you think she needs. She just watched a man die protecting her. She watched you try to shoot someone. She's traumatized and she needs sleep, and she needs her mother to not fall apart. His voice was hard. No room for argument. So you're going to let Mrs. Chen put her to bed. You're going to kiss her goodnight, and then you're going to help me figure out how to keep both of you alive long enough to see tomorrow. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to go to hell, but he was right, and they both knew it. Back at the compound, Mrs. Chen was waiting. She took one look at Mia, and her expression softened in a way Serena hadn't thought possible. Come with me, little one. Let's get you cleaned up. Mia clung to Serena. Don't leave me. I won't. I'll be right upstairs. 10 minutes. I promise. You keep promising things. The words hit like a blade between the ribs. Serena kissed her daughter's forehead. I know, baby. I know. Mrs. Chen led Mia away. The girl looked back over her shoulder twice before disappearing up the stairs. Lucian headed for his office. Serena followed. Her legs felt like they belonged to someone else. Everything felt like it belonged to someone else. Inside the office, Lucian set the wine bottle on his desk, removed the label carefully, spread out the hidden paper underneath, took photographs with better lighting, enhanced them on his computer, read through the information while Serena stood there trying not to fall apart. Finally, he sat back. This is worse than I thought. How can it be worse? Because it's not just account numbers and transaction records. He turned the monitor so she could see. Your father documented specific crimes, dates, locations, victims. He has murder contracts with signatures, money laundering operations with federal bank routing numbers. He has proof that 3 sitting senators took bribes to kill legislation, that a federal judge was paid to dismiss cases. He paused. And he has detailed records of every deal my father ever made with the Castellanos, including one that got 23 people killed when a shipment went wrong. Serena sat down hard. Why would he keep all this? Insurance, leverage. Maybe he was going to turn informant. We'll never know. Lucian closed the file. But now we have it, which means we have exactly 2 options. What options? Option 1. I destroy this. Burn it. Make it disappear. Protect my family's operations and let the Castellanos keep thinking we have it. Keep you hidden here forever because the moment you leave, they'll kill you to eliminate the loose end. That's not an option. Option 2. I use this. Give it to the right people. Let it tear down every criminal empire from here to Miami, including mine. His expression was unreadable. That would free you. The Castellanos can't kill you for information that's already public. You and Mia could have a normal life again. But you'd lose everything. Yes? So why would you even consider it? Lucian was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was different, softer, more honest than she'd heard from him before. Because Diego died tonight protecting your daughter. Because I watched you try to shoot someone to save her. Because you're not built for this world, and keeping you in it will destroy you. He looked at her. And because I'm tired of being the monster everyone thinks I am. Serena didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to process a crime lord having a crisis of conscience. It felt wrong, like reality had tilted sideways. There's a third option, she said quietly. What's that? We give the records to the Castellanos. Let them have what they want. End this. They'll kill you anyway. Can't leave witnesses. Then we negotiate. Something, anything. There has to be a way out that doesn't end with my daughter growing up in this fortress or with you destroying your entire life. You don't negotiate with the Castellanos. You submit or you die. Those are the options. There's always another option. Not in this world. Serena stood, moved to the window, looked out at the compound below. The lights, the fences, the men with guns. A prison. That's what this place was. A beautiful, expensive prison. How did you end up here, she asked. Running your father's empire, killing people, living like this. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. No, they don't. His voice hardened. My father built this empire by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. When he died, our rivals saw weakness, saw opportunity. They came after my mother, my sister. They sent me my sister's finger in a box with a note that said she was next unless I surrendered. Serena turned. Jesus Christ. I found the men who did it, killed them myself, all 7 of them, slowly. He stood, moved to the window beside her. Then I found the people who ordered it, killed them too, kept killing until everyone understood that the Moretti family was stronger than ever, that I was more dangerous than my father had ever been. Where's your sister now? Safe. Married. Living in Switzerland under a new name. She doesn't talk to me anymore, hasn't in 3 years. His jaw tightened. She thinks I'm a monster. Maybe she's right. They stood there in silence. 2 people from completely different worlds, trapped together by circumstances neither of them could control. The records, Serena said finally. If we release them, if we let them destroy everything, what happens to you? Prison, maybe, or I disappear. New identity, new life. Somewhere the people I've hurt can't find me. He looked at her. What about you? What do you want? I want my daughter to be safe. I want to go back to my crappy apartment and my terrible job and my normal life, where the most dangerous thing I deal with is grabbing someone's ass. That's not an option anymore. I know. More silence. Heavier this time. Then Lucian said, there might be a 4th option. What? We use the records as leverage. Contact the Castellanos. Offer them a deal. They back off. We don't release the information. Mutually assured destruction. Cold War instead of hot. Will that work? Probably not. But it might buy us time. Time to figure out something better. He moved back to his desk. I need to make some calls. You should check on Mia. Serena headed for the door, stopped halfway there. Why did you come to the restaurant last night? She asked. If you knew it might be a setup, why go? Because I was tired of hiding, tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of being afraid. He didn't look at her. And because I thought maybe if I walked into the lion's den and survived, people would finally understand I'm not someone to test. How'd that work out? I'm still alive, so there's that. Serena left him there, climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor, found Mia's room. Her daughter was asleep finally, curled under the blankets with that stuffed rabbit clutched against her chest. Mrs. Chen sat in a chair by the window, reading something on a tablet. She cried for 20 minutes, Mrs. Chen said quietly, then exhausted herself and passed out. Thank you. That child has seen too much. I know. Mr. Moretti is trying to keep you both safe. You should let him. Serena moved to the bed, sat on the edge, smoothed her daughter's hair back from her face. He's a criminal, a killer, everything my father tried to protect me from. He's also the only thing standing between you and the people who will definitely kill you. Mrs. Chen stood. I've worked for the Moretti family for 15 years, watched Lucien grow up, watched his father mold him into what he needed him to be. That boy never had a choice about the life he leads. But he chooses every day to be better than his father was, to protect people instead of just using them. He's still a monster, maybe, but he's your monster now, and if you're smart, you'll figure out how to work with him instead of against him. She moved toward the door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be worse. She left. Serena lay down next to Mia, pulled the blanket over both of them. Her daughter stirred and murmured something in her sleep. Serena held her and tried not to think about all the ways this could end. But sleep wouldn't come. Because somewhere in this fortress, Lucien was making calls, setting pieces in motion, playing games with people's lives like they were chess pieces. And Serena was trapped in the middle of it. No way forward, no way back. Only the slow, terrible realization that her old life was gone. That the moment she'd saved Lucien Moretti's life, she'd signed away everything that mattered. The morning came gray and cold. Mia woke up quiet. Didn't ask questions, just clung to her mother and stared at the walls like she was trying to figure out if this was real or some nightmare she hadn't woken up from yet. Mrs. Chen brought breakfast, fresh fruit, yogurt, granola that probably cost more than Serena's weekly grocery budget. Mia picked at it. Serena couldn't eat at all, just sipped coffee that tasted like ashes and tried to figure out how to explain any of this to a 5-year-old. Around 10, Lucien appeared in the doorway. He looked like he hadn't slept. Dark circles under his eyes, jaw tight. I made contact with the Castellanos. They want to meet. Serena stood. When? Tomorrow. Neutral ground, a place outside the city where neither side has territorial advantage. What do they want? The records, all of them, in exchange for letting you go. Do you believe them? No, but we don't have better options. He looked at Mia. She stays here, with Mrs. Chen and enough security to stop a small army. I'm not leaving her again. Yes, you are. Because if this goes wrong, I need to know she's somewhere they can't reach her. His voice was firm. This isn't negotiable, Serena. Your daughter stays. You come with me. That's how this works. Mia looked up. Mama? Serena's throat closed. She knelt beside her daughter. Baby, I need to go somewhere tomorrow. Just for a little while. Mrs. Chen will stay with you. You'll be safe. You said that before. I know. People died. I know. Mia's eyes filled with tears. I want to go home. We will, baby. Soon. I promise. You keep promising. The words broke something inside Serena. She pulled her daughter close and tried not to fall apart, tried to be strong, tried to be the mother Mia needed instead of the terrified woman she actually was. But her hands were shaking, and her daughter could feel it. Lucien watched from the doorway. His expression was unreadable. Then he left without another word. The rest of the day crawled by. Serena tried to keep Mia distracted. They colored, read books Rosa brought, watched a movie on the television in the playroom. But the whole time, Serena's mind was racing, planning, calculating odds, trying to figure out how to get her daughter out of this alive. That night, after Mia finally fell asleep, Serena went looking for Lucien. Found him in his office again. He sat at his desk with the wine bottle in front of him. The label removed. The hidden records spread out like evidence at a crime scene. I've been thinking, Serena said. He looked up. About? About tomorrow. About what happens if this goes wrong. If it goes wrong, we both die. Probably badly. Then we need a backup plan. I have one. It involves a lot of bullets and very little hope. Serena moved closer. What if we don't show up at all? What if we just disappear? Take Mia and run. New identities, new lives. The Castellanos can have the compound. They can have your territory. They can have everything except us. They'll hunt you forever, until they find you or until you die of old age, whichever comes first. Lucien leaned back. This isn't a movie, Serena. You don't just disappear from people like the Castellanos. They have resources, contacts. They'll find you in a month, maybe less. So what's your solution? We just walk into this meeting and hope they play fair? No, we walk in knowing they won't, and we prepare for that. How? He stood. Moved to a cabinet and pulled out a handgun. Checked the magazine, set it on the desk. Tomorrow, you're going to carry this. If things go sideways, you use it. Serena stared at the weapon. I don't know how. I'll teach you, right now. They went to a shooting range built into the basement of the compound. Soundproofed, professional. The kind of place where people practiced killing before they went out and did it for real. Lucien taught her the basics. How to hold the gun, how to aim, how to control her breathing, how to pull the trigger without flinching. She fired 30 rounds, missed the target on most of them. But by the end, she was getting closer. Learning the weight of it, the recoil, the way her hands wanted to shake, and how to fight through it. "You're not going to win any competitions," Lucy said. "But if someone's close enough, you might hit them. That's all that matters." "I don't want to hit anyone." "Neither did I, the first time." He took the gun from her, reloaded it. "My father made me kill someone when I was 16, one of his soldiers who'd been skimming money. He handed me a gun and said if I wanted to run the family someday, I needed to understand what that meant." "Did you do it?" "Yes." His voice was flat, empty. "Shot him in the head, then went outside and threw up until there was nothing left. My father said that was normal, said it would get easier." "Did it?" "Yes, that's the worst part." He handed the gun back to her. "Practice until it feels natural. We leave at dawn." He walked out, left her alone in the basement with the gun and the targets and the smell of cordite hanging in the air. Serena fired another magazine, then another, trying to quiet her mind, trying to prepare for tomorrow, trying to accept that she was about to walk into a meeting with killers while carrying a gun she barely knew how to use. She thought about running, just taking Mia and disappearing into the night. But Lucien was right. They'd be found. Eventually. And when they were, it would be worse. So she kept shooting, kept practicing, until her hand stopped shaking and the gun felt like an extension of her arm instead of a foreign object. Until she could hit the target more often than she missed. Until she started to understand why Lucian's father had made him do this. Because once you crossed certain lines, there was no going back. And Serena had already crossed so many. Dawn came too fast. Serena hadn't slept, just lay next to Mia and watched her daughter breathe and tried to memorize every detail of her face in case this was the last time. Mrs. Chen came at 6. "It's time." Serena kissed Mia's forehead. Her daughter stirred but didn't wake. "Keep her safe." "With my life." Downstairs, Lucian waited by the SUV. Different vehicle, armored. Marcus behind the wheel again. 2 other men in a second vehicle parked behind them. Everyone armed, everyone tense. Serena climbed in. The gun Lucien had given her sat heavy in the holster at her side, hidden under a jacket. Ready. They drove in silence, out of the compound, down the mountain, into the outskirts of the city where buildings gave way to industrial parks and abandoned lots. The meeting place was an old vineyard, shut down years ago. The main building was a crumbling stone structure that looked like it might collapse if you breathed on it too hard. Rows of dead vines stretched in every direction, nothing but decay and forgotten dreams. Marcus parked 50 yards from the building. The other vehicles stopped behind them. Everyone got out, scanned the area. "They're here," Marcus said quietly. 3 vehicles on the other side, maybe 8 men visible, probably more hidden. Lucian pulled out the wine bottle, the label with the hidden records tucked carefully back in place. "Stay close to me. If shooting starts, get behind the car and don't try to be a hero." "What are you going to do?" "Try to keep us both alive." They walked toward the building. The morning was cold. Gray clouds pressed down like a lid. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. Every step felt wrong, like walking toward her own execution. Men emerged from the vineyard building, 8 of them, armed, professional. They formed a loose semicircle, and in the center stood a man in his 30s, handsome in that dangerous way that suggested violence was just beneath the surface. His suit was expensive. His smile was predatory. "Lucien Moretti," the man said, "you're either very brave or very stupid to show up here." "Damien Castellano." Lucian's voice was steady. "I could say the same about you." They stood 20 feet apart, 2 predators sizing each other up, calculating angles, measuring odds. "You have something that belongs to me," Damien said. "I have something that belongs to a dead man. You just want it." "Semantics." Damien's eyes moved to Serena. "And you brought Giovanni's daughter. How thoughtful. She doesn't know anything. She knew enough to save your life, knew enough to spot poisoned wine, knew enough to run." His smile widened. "She knows plenty." Lucien raised the wine bottle. "The records. Every account. Every crime. Every name. It's all here. You can have it. In exchange for permanent amnesty for Serena and her daughter." "Amnesty?" Damien laughed. "You think you're in a position to negotiate? I think if you kill us, these records go public. I've already made arrangements. My death triggers an automatic release to the FBI, the DEA, and 3 major newspapers. Lucian's voice was cold. So, yes, I'm in a position to negotiate. Damien's smile faded. You're bluffing. Try me. They stared at each other. The men around them shifted, fingers moving toward triggers, everyone waiting for someone to make the first move. Then Damien said, "There's something you should know about these records, about what your father-in-law was really doing." He wasn't my father-in-law. Figure of speech. Damien pulled out his phone, swiped through something. Giovanni Russo didn't just manage accounts. He helped build the Moretti empire, worked directly with your father to launder money, to hide assets, to disappear bodies when necessary. Serena's blood went cold. And when Giovanni decided he wanted out, Damien continued, when he threatened to expose everyone unless they let him walk away, your father and my uncle decided he was too dangerous to live. They arranged the car accident together, killed him, made it look like bad brakes and wet roads. You're lying, Serena said. Am I? Damien smiled at her. Your father was going to disappear with you, take you somewhere safe, start over, but he made the mistake of telling people about his plans. And powerful men don't like being threatened. He paused. Lucien's father pulled the trigger, but my uncle gave the order. They were partners in it. Serena looked at Lucien, saw the truth in his face, the guilt, the knowledge he'd been carrying. You knew, she whispered. I found out after my father died, read through his personal files, saw the orders he'd given. Lucien's voice was tight. I was 16 when it happened. I didn't know. But you know now. You've known, and you didn't tell me. Because it doesn't change anything. Your father is still dead. My father is still dead. Telling you would only cause more pain. That wasn't your choice to make. Damien laughed. This is beautiful. The great Lucien Moretti, trying to protect a woman while hiding the fact that his family murdered her father. You can't save her, Lucien. You're the reason she needs saving in the first place. Everything inside Serena cracked. The betrayal. The lies. The weight of knowing that the man she'd been trusting had come from the same world that killed her father. That his father had pulled the trigger. She turned to walk away. Away from Lucien. Away from the meeting. Away from all of it. That's when the shooting started. Snipers. Hidden in the vineyard rows. They opened fire on Lucien's men first. Marcus went down. The other 2 soldiers dropped before they could return fire. Damien's men rushed forward. Lucien grabbed Serena and pulled her toward the ruined building. Bullets chewed up the ground around them. She stumbled, nearly fell. He dragged her through a doorway into darkness and decay. Inside the building was worse. Collapsed floors, broken glass, the smell of mold and rot. More gunfire outside, screaming, the sound of vehicles starting. Damien shouting orders. Lucien pulled Serena deeper into the building, down a corridor, through a room full of ancient wine barrels, toward the back where a set of stairs descended into darkness. Cellar, he said. Move. They went down. The stairs were stone, slick with moisture. Serena's foot slipped and she caught herself on the wall, kept moving. Behind them, footsteps echoed, men entering the building, hunting. The cellar was massive. Rows of storage racks, empty bottles, cobwebs thick as curtains. Lucien led her through the darkness using his phone's flashlight. Found a door at the far end, locked. He kicked it twice. The wood splintered, the door gave. Beyond was a tunnel, dirt walls, timber supports. It stretched into blackness. Maintenance access, Lucien said. Used to connect the vineyard to the main house half a mile away. Move. They ran through the tunnel. The ceiling was low. Serena had to duck. The walls pressed close. Her breathing echoed. Behind them, voices shouted. Closer now. The tunnel opened into another cellar, this one smaller, stone walls dripping with moisture, a single door leading up. Lucien tried it. Locked. He fired twice. The lock exploded. The door swung open. They emerged into an abandoned house. Empty rooms, no furniture, graffiti on the walls. The windows were boarded up, but light seeped through gaps. Outside, engines roared, men shouting, getting closer. We can't run forever, Serena said. I know. Then what? Lucien looked at her. His face was hard, resolved. Then I end this. He moved to one of the boarded windows, looked through a gap. 4 vehicles, maybe 12 men, all searching. That's suicide. Probably. He checked his gun, reloaded. You have the weapon I gave you? Yes. Good. Stay here. Stay quiet. If I don't come back, wait until dark, then run. Head south. Don't stop. Don't trust anyone. Just run until you're far enough away that the name Castellano doesn't mean anything anymore. Lucien, there's money in a safety deposit box. Key is in my desk. Mrs. Chen knows where. Use it to disappear. Change your name. Change Mia's name. Build something new. He moved toward the door. I'm sorry about your father. I'm sorry about all of this. Then he was gone. Out the door. Into the daylight. Into the fight. Serena stood alone in the abandoned house and listened to gunfire erupt outside. Listened to men screaming. Listened to Lucien Moretti wage war against an army, and realized she had a choice. She could run, could hide, could let him die alone. Or she could fight. She pulled out the gun, checked it like he'd taught her, took a deep breath, then walked toward the door. Toward the violence. Toward the man who'd lied to her but was dying to protect her anyway. She stepped outside into chaos and raised her weapon, and Serena stepped outside into chaos and raised her weapon and pulled the trigger before her brain caught up with her hands. The shot went wide. Missed the man crouched behind a rusted sedan by 3 feet, but it made him turn, made him see her, made him shift his aim from Lucien to her. Lucien used the distraction, came around the corner of a collapsed wall and put 2 rounds center mass. The man dropped. I told you to stay inside, Lucien shouted over the gunfire. You're welcome. They dove behind an overturned delivery truck as bullets tore chunks out of the metal. The vehicle had been there so long weeds grew through the wheel wells. Rust flaked off with every impact. Serena's hands were shaking. Her ears rang. She could taste copper and gunpowder. Everything moved too fast and too slow at the same time. Lucien reloaded. His movements were mechanical, practiced. How many rounds do you have left? I don't know. I just started shooting. Check the magazine. She fumbled with the gun, pressed the release like he'd taught her. The magazine dropped into her palm. 7 rounds left. She slammed it back in. 7. Make them count. He leaned around the truck and fired 3 times. Serena heard someone scream, heard the wet sound of a body hitting dirt, movement to their left. 2 men flanking through the overgrown vineyard rows. Lucien saw them at the same time she did, swung his weapon, fired. 1 man went down. The other dove behind a concrete planter and returned fire. The truck shook with impacts. We can't stay here, Serena said. I know. So what's the plan? Not dying. That's not a plan. It's the best I've got. More gunfire from their right. A bullet punched through the truck's thin wall and missed Serena's head by inches. She felt the air displacement, felt how close death had just come. Lucien grabbed her arm. When I move, you move. Stay low. Head for that stone building at 2 o'clock. Don't stop. Don't look back. Just run. What about you? I'll be right behind you. He didn't wait for her to argue, just broke cover and ran left, firing as he moved. Drew attention, made himself the target. Serena ran right. Her legs pumped. The gun felt wrong in her hand, heavy and awkward. She stumbled over debris, kept her head down as bullets carved the air above her. The stone building materialized ahead. Some kind of old equipment shed. The door hung crooked on broken hinges. She crashed through it into darkness that smelled like motor oil and decay. Her chest heaved. She pressed her back against the wall and tried to catch her breath. Tried to stop shaking. Tried to figure out if Lucien was still alive. Footsteps outside. Coming closer. Deliberate. Hunting. Serena raised her gun with both hands, aimed at the doorway. Her finger found the trigger. She could hear her own heartbeat, could feel sweat running down her spine. A shadow fell across the entrance. She fired twice. The shadow jerked back. She heard cursing in Spanish, then more footsteps, running away. She'd hit someone, maybe killed them. The thought made her stomach turn, but she didn't have time to process it because Lucien appeared in the doorway, blood running down the side of his face. You're hit, she said. Grazed. I'm fine. He moved to the back wall where a small window provided a view of the grounds. We took down maybe 5, still 7 or 8 out there, and Damien's not among the bodies. Where is he? Smart. Staying back, letting his men do the work. Lucien wiped blood from his eye. We need to end this, now, before they regroup and overwhelm us. How? He looked at her. Something had changed in his expression, something dark and resigned. The records. We give them what they want. You said they'd kill us anyway. They will, but it buys us time, a few minutes, maybe enough to get you out. And you? I'm not getting out. His voice was flat, matter of fact. But you might, if we play this right. Serena's throat tightened. I'm not leaving you here to die. You don't have a choice. Your daughter needs you. I'm just the monster who got you into this. You're the monster trying to get me out of it. Same thing in the end. Before she could argue, a voice called from outside. Damien, amplified, like he was using a bullhorn or speaking through a car's PA system. Lucien Moretti, I'm offering you one chance. Come out. Bring the girl. Bring the records. Do it now, and I'll make it quick. Lucien didn't respond, just checked his ammunition. 3 magazines left, maybe 40 rounds total. Damien's voice came again. Or I can call in more men. I have 20 more soldiers 15 minutes away. You're bleeding, running out of ammunition, running out of options. This ends one way. You know it. I know it. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. He's right, Serena whispered. We can't win this. Winning was never the point. Lucien moved to the door. The point was surviving long enough to matter. That doesn't make any sense. It will. He stepped outside with his hands raised, the gun dangling from one finger. Serena's heart stopped. Don't shoot, Lucien called. I'm coming out. Silence. Then Damien's voice again. Where's the girl? Inside. Unarmed. Terrified. She's not a threat. Bring her out. Lucien looked back at Serena. Nodded once. She understood. This was the play. The last desperate gamble. She stepped out beside him, her gun tucked in the back of her waistband under her jacket. Hidden. One final card to play if everything went to hell. Which it would. Damien emerged from behind a vehicle. His suit was dusty, but otherwise he looked untouched, like he'd been watching from a safe distance while his men did the dying. 4 soldiers flanked him, all armed, all professional. The bodies of the dead littered the grounds. Lucien's men, Damien's men, all just meat now, all equally wasted. The records, Damien said. Lucien pulled the wine bottle from inside his jacket, the label intact, the hidden paper underneath containing enough information to destroy empires. Here, take it, let her go. Damien smiled. You think I'm stupid? I think you want this more than you want revenge. I want both. Damien gestured. One of his men moved forward, took the bottle, carried it back and handed it to Damien. Damien examined it, peeled back the label, saw the paper underneath covered in codes and names and numbers. His smile widened. Your father was thorough. So was Giovanni. Between these records and what I already have, I can dismantle every competing operation on the eastern seaboard. He looked up. Thank you, Lucien. You just handed me an empire. Now let her go. No. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. We had a deal, Lucien said. We had nothing. You don't negotiate with me. You beg. And even then I might kill you for the entertainment value. Damien handed the bottle to one of his men. Take them both to the cellar. I want time with them. I want Giovanni's daughter to understand exactly what her father did, what his information cost. Then you can kill them, slowly. The soldiers moved forward. Serena's hand went to the gun hidden at her back, but Lucien caught her eye, shook his head slightly. Not yet. They were marched back toward the ruined vineyard building. Through the door, down the corridor, toward the stairs that led to the cellar where darkness waited. This was it, the moment where everything either worked or they died. Serena's pulse hammered, her mouth was dry. Every instinct screamed to run, to fight, to do something, but Lucien walked calmly, like he'd already accepted what came next. They descended into the cellar, the same space they'd run through minutes ago. But now there was no escape route, no tunnel to flee through, just stone walls and darkness and the certainty of violence. Damien followed them down. 2 soldiers behind him. The others stayed upstairs, guarding exits, making sure nobody interrupted what was about to happen. Tie them up, Damien ordered. One soldier produced zip ties. Started with Lucien. pulled his hands behind his back and secured them tight enough that the plastic bit into skin, then moved to Serena. This was when she was supposed to move, when Lucien was supposed to make his play. But he just stood there, hands bound, bleeding, waiting. The soldier reached for Serena's wrists. She moved, pulled the gun from her waistband and fired point blank into the soldier's chest. He dropped. She swung the weapon toward Damien, but the second soldier was faster. He grabbed her arm and slammed it against the stone wall. The gun clattered away into darkness. Pain exploded up her arm. She screamed. The soldier drove his knee into her stomach. Air rushed out. She folded. Damien laughed. There's the spirit. Giovanni's daughter, finally showing some backbone. The soldier threw Serena against the wall, zip-tied her hands behind her back. The plastic cut into her wrists. She could already feel them swelling. Damien walked to where Lucy Yin stood. You knew she had the gun. You were counting on it. One last desperate play to save her. Something like that. Noble, stupid, but noble. Damien pulled out his own weapon, a compact 9mm with a suppressor already attached. Tell me something. Did you really think you could protect her? Did you honestly believe you could keep Giovanni's daughter safe from everyone who wants her dead? I had to try. Why? She's nobody. Just some waitress with a kid. What does she matter to someone like you? Lucien didn't answer, just stared at Damien with eyes that had gone flat and cold. Damien turned to Serena. Your father was a brilliant man, a coward, but brilliant. He documented everything because he thought it would protect him. Thought if he had enough evidence, nobody would dare touch him. He knelt in front of her. He was wrong. My uncle and Lucien's father killed him anyway, made it look like an accident, then spent years searching for what he'd hidden. I know, Serena said through gritted teeth. Lucien told me. Did he tell you the rest? What rest? Damien smiled. Did he tell you why his father agreed to kill Giovanni in the first place? Silence. Heavy and terrible. Your father wasn't just documenting crimes, Damien continued. He was preparing to turn informant, had already made contact with the FBI, was going to trade everything he knew for witness protection. For you. He wanted to get you somewhere safe, give you a clean life. He paused. But someone tipped off Lucien's father. Someone told him Giovanni was about to betray everyone. Serena's stomach turned to ice. Who? That's the beautiful part. Nobody knows. The tip came through a lawyer, anonymous, untraceable. Could have been anyone Giovanni worked with. Could have been one of a dozen people who wanted him dead. Damien stood. Or it could have been his own daughter. That's insane. I was 19. I didn't know anything. Didn't you? Giovanni kept his work separate from his home life, paranoid, careful, never talked business around you. Damien moved closer. Except you knew about wine, about bottles and labels and how to spot problems. He taught you that. Why? Because he liked wine. Because it was something we shared, or because he needed someone he could trust to recognize the right bottle when the time came. Someone innocent enough that nobody would suspect. Someone who could carry information without knowing she was carrying it. Serena's mind reeled. You're lying. Am I? You spotted the poisoned Barolo immediately, knew exactly what to look for, almost like you'd been trained to notice those specific things. He tilted his head. And then you led Lucien straight to the storage unit, straight to the wine collection, straight to the evidence, like you knew exactly where it was all along. I didn't know, I swear, maybe not consciously, but your father prepared you, taught you, made you into his backup plan in case things went wrong. Damien looked at Lucien. And now she's done exactly what Giovanni wanted, delivered the records to someone who would use them, destroyed the criminal empires that killed him, completed his revenge from beyond the grave. That's enough, Lucien said quietly. Is it? Because I think she deserves to know the truth, that her father used her, that every memory she has of him learning about wine together was really him training her to be his unwitting accomplice, that she's been a weapon he aimed at all of us before he died. Serena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, all those afternoons in his study, him teaching her about vintages and regions and how to spot a compromised bottle, how certain stains meant poison, how certain labels meant danger. She'd thought it was just bonding, just a father sharing his passion with his daughter. But what if it was more? What if Damien was right? It doesn't matter, Lucien said. She didn't know. She was innocent, still is. Nobody's innocent, not in this world. Damien raised his gun, pointed it at Serena. But she'll be dead soon enough, so I suppose it won't matter either way. The barrel looked enormous, like staring into a tunnel that led straight to nothing. Serena thought about Mia, about her daughter waking up at the compound without her, about Mrs. Chen having to explain that Mama wasn't coming back, about a 5-year-old girl growing up knowing her mother had been killed in a cellar by people whose names she'd never understand. She thought about her father, about whether Damien was telling the truth, about whether everything she remembered had been a lie. She thought about Lucien, about a man who'd had every reason to use her and instead had tried to protect her, about how his father had pulled the trigger but Lucien had spent these last days trying to undo that sin. And she thought about the gun that had fallen somewhere in the darkness, about how far away it was, about whether she could reach it before Damien fired. Too far, too dark, too late. Damien's finger tightened on the trigger. Then the lights went out. Not slowly, not a flicker. Just instant total darkness. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes strobed the cellar like lightning. Serena threw herself sideways, hit the ground hard. Her shoulder screamed. Her bound wrists made everything awkward. More shots. Someone shouted. She heard bodies hitting stone. Heard Damien cursing. Heard footsteps running up the stairs. Then silence. Absolute. Suffocating. Serena lay on the cold stone floor and tried to figure out if she was alive or if this was what death felt like. Darkness and silence and the smell of gunpowder. Serena. Lucien's voice. Close. You hit? No, I don't think so. Movement in the darkness. She felt hands on her wrists, a blade sawing through the zip tie. It gave. Her hands came free. Blood rushed back into them. The pain was exquisite. What happened? She whispered. Someone killed the power, then killed Damien's men. He found her in the darkness, pulled her to her feet. Someone on our side. You don't have anyone left. Marcus is dead. Your other men are dead. I know. Light flared. A flashlight. Not Lucien. Someone else's. A figure descended the stairs, moved with the confidence of someone who owned the darkness. The light swept across the cellar, across the bodies of Damien's soldiers, across Damien himself slumped against the wall with blood spreading across his expensive suit. The figure stepped into view. It was Mrs. Chen. She held a suppressed pistol in one hand and the flashlight in the other. Her face was calm, professional, like she'd just finished washing dishes instead of executing 4 men in total darkness. Mrs. Chen? Serena couldn't process it. How did you— Later, we need to move. The older woman's voice was crisp, efficient. More of Damien's men are coming. We have maybe 3 minutes. Where's Mia? Serena's voice cracked. Is she safe? Yes. At the compound. Rosa has her, but we need to get you back there before the Castellanos regroup. Mrs. Chen moved to Lucien, cut his zip ties. Can you walk? Yes. Then move. They ran up the stairs, out of the cellar, through the ruined building. Outside, the daylight was harsh after the darkness. Serena's eyes watered. She stumbled. Lucien caught her arm. A black sedan waited behind the abandoned house. Engine running, driver door open. Get in, Mrs. Chen ordered. They climbed in. Mrs. Chen took the wheel, gunned the engine. The sedan launched forward across the overgrown grounds. Behind them, Serena could see vehicles approaching. More of Damien's men, coming for revenge. But Mrs. Chen drove like she'd been racing professionally for years. Took corners at speeds that made the tires scream. Navigated through narrow gaps between buildings. Led them onto a service road that wound through the hills. How did you find us? Lucien asked. I've been tracking you since you left the compound. Mrs. Chen's eyes stayed on the road. Did you really think I'd let you walk into a meeting with the Castellanos without backup? I told you to stay with Mia, and I told Rosa to stay with Mia. I came after you. She took another corner. You're welcome. Lucien was quiet for a moment, then, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Damien is dead, but the Castellano Empire isn't. His uncle will come for blood. And now that the records are in their hands, they have everything they need to consolidate power. Serena's head was spinning. So we gave them exactly what they wanted. We lost. Not exactly. Mrs. Chen glanced in the rear-view mirror. The bottle I took from Damien's man before I cut the power? That wasn't the real one. Lucian turned to stare at her. What? I swapped it. The bottle Damien has is a fake, same label, same vintage, but the hidden records underneath are worthless, just random numbers and fake names. A small smile crossed her face. The real records are in the trunk of this car, locked in a fireproof case. Serena felt like the world had tilted sideways again. How did you... I've been doing this longer than both of you have been alive. Did you think I was just a housekeeper? Mrs. Chen's voice was dry. I worked for Lucien's father, handled problems he couldn't trust anyone else with. When he died, I stayed on to make sure his son didn't get himself killed doing something stupid. She glanced at Lucien. Which you almost did. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? Because you would have tried to stop me. Or worse, you would have changed your plan to accommodate me. Better to stay in the shadows until you needed me. They drove in silence for several minutes. Serena tried to process everything. Mrs. Chen was more than she appeared. The records were safe, Damien was dead, but the war wasn't over. What happens now? Serena asked. Now we regroup, figure out our next move before Damien's uncle realizes he has a fake. Mrs. Chen's expression hardened. And we decide what to do with the real records, because we're holding a bomb that could destroy everyone, including us. They reached the compound as the sun started dropping toward the horizon. The place was on high alert, more guards, more weapons, everyone tense and ready for attack. Rosa met them at the door with Mia. The little girl launched herself at Serena with a desperate grip. Serena held her daughter and tried not to fall apart, tried not to think about how close she'd come to never seeing her again. Mama, Mia sobbed into her shoulder. I thought you weren't coming back. I'm here, baby. I'm here. Don't leave again. Please don't leave again. I won't, I promise. But even as she said it, Serena knew it was a lie. Because this wasn't over. Would never be over as long as those records existed. As long as powerful men wanted them destroyed and other powerful men wanted them released. She was trapped. Mia was trapped, and every promise she made was just another weight they'd both have to carry. Lucian disappeared into his office with Mrs. Chen. They were in there for 2 hours. Serena could hear raised voices through the door, arguments, Mrs. Chen's sharp tone cutting through Lucian's deeper one, but she couldn't make out words. Finally, the door opened. Lucien emerged looking older, tired, like the weight of everything had finally caught up with him. We need to talk, he said to Serena. She left Mia with Rosa and followed him to the study. He closed the door, poured himself a drink, offered her one. She shook her head. Mrs. Chen thinks we should destroy the records, he said quietly. Burn them. Make them disappear. End this before more people die. What do you think? I think she's probably right. He drank. But I also think your father died trying to expose these people. Destroying the evidence means he died for nothing. My father died because he threatened dangerous men, because he thought he could play both sides and win. Serena's voice was hollow. Damien was right about one thing. My father used me, trained me, made me into his backup plan without telling me what I was becoming. You don't know that, don't I? Every memory I have of him teaching me about wine, every afternoon in his study, every lesson about spotting compromised bottles. She looked at Lucien. He was preparing me, making sure I could find the records when the time came, making sure I could recognize the signs. Even if that's true, you were innocent. You didn't choose any of this. Neither did Mia. But she's living with the consequences anyway. Serena moved to the window, looked out at the compound, at the fences and guards and walls that kept them safe and trapped in equal measure. I can't do this anymore, Lucien. I can't keep running, can't keep hiding, can't keep dragging my daughter through violence and death. So what do you want to do? She turned to face him. I want you to release the records. Give them to the FBI, to the newspapers, to everyone. Let them destroy every criminal empire from here to Miami. Let my father's death mean something. That will paint a target on your back for the rest of your life. Every criminal who survives will come looking for revenge. They're already looking. At least this way it means something. At least this way Mia grows up in a world where these people have less powers. You'll need witness protection, new identities. You'll have to disappear completely. I know. And you'll never be able to come back. Never be able to contact anyone from your old life. It'll be like you died. My old life died the moment I spotted that poisoned cork. She moved closer to him. But Mia gets a chance. Gets to grow up somewhere safe. Away from all this. That's worth disappearing for. Lucian was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "What about me? What about you? Do I get to disappear too? Or do I stay here and face what's coming?" Serena looked at him, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of his father's sins pressing down on shoulders that had never asked to carry them, saw a man who'd been shaped into a monster but was desperately trying to be something else. "That's your choice," she said softly. "You can stay and rebuild your empire. Fight the wars that are coming. Be the man everyone expects you to be." She paused. "Or you can walk away. Start over. Become someone new. I don't know how to be anyone else." "Neither do I. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we both need to learn." The door opened. Mrs. Chen walked in without knocking. Her face was grim. "We have a problem. Damien's uncle just issued a statement. He's offering $10 million for information leading to you." She looked at Lucien, "And $20 million for Serena and the child, dead or alive." The room went cold. $20 million? Serena's voice was barely a whisper. "That's more money than most people see in a lifetime. Every bounty hunter, mercenary, and desperate criminal on the eastern seaboard will be coming for you. For both of you." Mrs. Chen moved to the desk, pulled up her phone, showed them a photo. It was Serena's old apartment building, the one she'd lived in before all this started. The entrance was cordoned off with police tape. The windows of her unit were blown out. Smoke damage marked the walls. "They firebombed it 2 hours ago, killed 4 people. Your neighbors. People who had nothing to do with any of this." Mrs. Chen's voice was flat. "That's the kind of war that's coming. Total, brutal, no mercy for anyone who might have helped you." Serena's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the leather couch. 4 people. 4 innocent people dead because she'd lived in the same building. Because someone thought they might know where she was. "We need to move," Lucien said. "Tonight. Get out of the country. Somewhere the Castellanos can't reach." "There's nowhere they can't reach. Not with that much money on your heads." Mrs. Chen closed her phone. "Your only option is to go public first. Release the records before they can kill you. Make sure your deaths don't silence the truth. And if we release them, then you become witnesses instead of targets. The FBI will have to protect you. The media will be watching. Killing you becomes too risky, too public." Lucien looked at Serena. "It's your choice. Your father's legacy. Your decision." Serena thought about her neighbors, about 4 people who'd died just for living near her, about how many more would die if she kept running, kept hiding, kept hoping this would somehow end without more blood. She thought about Mia growing up in hiding, always looking over her shoulder, always afraid, and she thought about her father, about whether he'd been a coward or a hero, whether he'd used her or protected her, whether any of it mattered now that he was gone and she was left holding the evidence he'd died to preserve. "Release them," she said. "All of it. Every name, every crime, every secret. Burn it all down." Mrs. Chen nodded. "I'll make the arrangements. But once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be testifying in federal trials for years. Your face will be everywhere. Every criminal in America will know your name." "They already do. At least this way it counts for something." Mrs. Chen left to make calls, to contact lawyers and federal prosecutors and journalists who could be trusted to handle information this explosive. Lucien poured another drink, stared at it like it held answers. "My father built an empire," he said quietly, "spent 40 years building it, and I'm about to destroy it in a single night." "You're destroying everyone's empire, including the people who killed my father. That's supposed to make me feel better? I don't know. Does it?" He smiled. It was a sad expression. Broken. "No, but maybe that's how I know it's the right thing to do. Because it costs everything." They sat in silence. waiting for Mrs. Chen to return, waiting for the machinery of justice to start grinding, waiting for the point of no return. An hour later, Mrs. Chen came back. It's done. I've sent encrypted copies to 3 major newspapers, 2 federal prosecutors, and 1 investigative journalist with a history of taking down organized crime. The information will go public at 6 a.m. tomorrow. That gives us 12 hours to get you somewhere safe. Where? Serena asked. There's a federal safe house in Virginia. Remote, heavily guarded. The FBI will move you there tonight. You'll stay until the immediate threat passes. Then witness protection, new identities, new lives. What about Lucy? He'll go with you. He's the most valuable witness they have, can corroborate everything in the documents. Mrs. Chen looked at him. You'll spend years in court, testifying against everyone you ever knew, every ally, every business partner, everyone your father dealt with. I know. They'll call you a traitor, try to kill you in prison, in the courthouse, on the street. You'll live the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. I know. And you're still doing this? Lucian looked at Serena, then at the closed door beyond which Mia waited. Yes. Mrs. Chen nodded slowly. Your father would have hated this, would have called you weak, would have said you destroyed everything he built. My father was a monster. I'd rather be weak than become him. Then let's move. We have vehicles ready. Armed escort. The FBI will meet us at the safe house. She pulled out her phone, started typing instructions. Serena went to get Mia, found her daughter asleep on the couch in the playroom with Rosa sitting nearby. The young woman looked up as Serena entered. She finally crashed about an hour ago. Poor thing was exhausted. Thank you for watching her, for keeping her safe. Of course. Rosa stood. Mrs. Chen told me you're leaving, going somewhere safe. Yes. Good. You deserve that, both of you. Rosa smiled. It was genuine, warm. Take care of yourself, Serena, and take care of that little girl. She's special. Serena gathered Mia into her arms. Her daughter stirred but didn't wake, just nestled against her shoulder with a small sigh. They left through the garage. 3 vehicles waited, all armored, all filled with armed men Mrs. Chen had called in from somewhere. Serena didn't ask where, didn't want to know. She climbed into the middle vehicle with Mia. Lucian got in beside her. Mrs. Chen took the front passenger seat. The driver was someone Serena didn't recognize, hard-faced, professional, the kind of person who'd done this before. They pulled out in convoy formation, fast but not reckless. The compound gates opened and they accelerated onto the mountain road. Serena looked back once, saw the fortress growing smaller behind them, saw the lights and fences and walls that had been her prison and her sanctuary. Wondered if she'd ever see it again. Wondered if she wanted to. The drive was tense, everyone silent, everyone watching for threats. But the road stayed empty. No ambushes, no attacks, just darkness and the sound of engines and the weight of knowing that by morning everything would change. They reached the safe house just after midnight. It was a compound unto itself. High walls, guards, cameras. Federal agents in tactical gear who checked credentials 3 times before letting them through the gate. Inside was basic, functional. A main house with bedrooms upstairs and a command center downstairs where agents monitored feeds from dozens of cameras. Serena was given a room for her and Mia. Lucien got one across the hall. Mrs. Chen stayed only long enough to make sure they were settled. I need to get back. Handle the fallout. Make sure the compound is secure. She looked at Lucien. Your remaining people will need guidance, instructions on how to handle what's coming. Tell them to scatter, disappear. Anyone still loyal should get out before the arrests start. And the ones who aren't loyal? They'll try to kill me before the records go public. Make sure they don't get the chance. Mrs. Chen nodded. Then she did something Serena had never seen. She hugged Lucy Yen. Brief, tight, like a mother saying goodbye to a son she might never see again. You did the right thing, she said quietly. Your father was wrong about almost everything, but he was right about one thing. You're stronger than he ever was. Then she was gone. Back to the compound, back to the world they were leaving behind. Serena put Mia to bed in the strange room with its plain walls and government-issue furniture. Her daughter woke long enough to mumble a question about where they were. Serena told her they were somewhere safe, somewhere new, somewhere they could finally rest. Mia accepted that and went back to sleep. Serena sat on the edge of the bed and watched her daughter breathe, thought about all the promises she'd broken, all the lies she'd told, all the ways she'd failed to protect the one person who mattered most. But they were alive, both of them. That had to count for something. A soft knock on the door. Lucien stood in the hallway. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Can you?" No. They went downstairs, found a small kitchen where federal agents had left coffee and supplies, made cups that were too strong and too bitter but at least gave them something to hold. "In 6 hours, everything we know is gone," Lucius said. "Everyone we were, everything we had, just gone. Is that a bad thing?" "I don't know. Ask me in a year." "What will you do? After the trials? After everything?" He was quiet for a long time. "I've been thinking about that, about what comes after." He stared into his coffee. "Maybe I'll try to be someone who helps people instead of hurting them. Someone who builds things instead of destroying them. Someone my father would have despised." "Sounds like a good plan. What about you?" "I don't know. Find a place where Mia can go to school without fear. Get a job that doesn't involve carrying a gun. Try to remember what normal feels like." She looked at him. "Maybe start dating someone who isn't a crime lord." "That's probably for the best." They smiled. It was fragile, temporary, but real. Then Lucian's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression changed. "What?" Serena asked. "Mrs. Chen, there's a problem at the compound." "What kind of problem?" "The kind that involves 20 armed men trying to breach the perimeter." He stood, started typing a response. "She's initiating evacuation protocols, getting everyone out before—" His phone rang. He answered, listened. His face went pale. "When?" A pause. "How many?" Another pause. "Jesus Christ." He ended the call, looked at Serena. "The Castellanos just raided the compound. They're inside. Mrs. Chen is barricaded in the safe room, but they're cutting through the door. She says they know about the safe house, know where we are. They're coming for us." "How do they know?" "Someone talked, someone on our side, someone who knew the plan." His jaw tightened. "We have maybe an hour before they get here, maybe less." Serena's blood turned to ice. "What do we do?" "We run. Again. We always run." He moved toward the stairs. "Get Mia, now. We're leaving." But before either of them could move, the lights went out. The house plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in after a few seconds, red, pulsing, making everything look like a crime scene. Then gunfire erupted outside. Automatic weapons, explosions, the sound of men screaming. Someone was attacking the safe house, and Serena realized with terrible clarity that they'd never been safe at all, that nowhere was safe. That this war would only end one way, with all of them dead, or with her finally becoming the weapon her father had trained her to be. The gunfire outside intensified. Serena's feet moved before her brain caught up. She sprinted for the stairs, taking them two at a time while red emergency lighting pulsed like a dying heartbeat. Behind her, Lucien was already shouting orders to the federal agents in the command center. She burst into the bedroom. Mia was awake, sitting up in bed with her eyes wide and terrified. The little girl had learned to recognize the sound of violence, had learned what it meant when adults started running. "Mama, no questions. We have to go. Now." Serena grabbed her daughter and lifted her. Mia wrapped her arms and legs around her mother like she was trying to merge back into her body, become safe again. Lucien appeared in the doorway. He had a tactical vest on now, 2 guns, extra magazines strapped to his chest. "Basement, there's a tunnel, goes half a mile to an access road." "What about the federal agents?" "Holding the perimeter, buying us time." His face was hard. "Move." They ran down the hallway. More gunfire. Closer now. Glass shattered somewhere on the first floor. Serena heard men shouting in Spanish, heard the distinct pop of flashbang grenades, heard someone screaming. The basement stairs were narrow, dark. Serena's shoulders scraped the wall as she descended with Mia clutched against her chest. Her daughter's breathing was rapid against her neck, small gasps that sounded like she was trying not to cry. "You're doing great, baby," Serena whispered. "So brave, so strong." But Mia was shaking. her whole body trembling like she was freezing even though the basement was warm. Lucien led them through a storage area packed with boxes and emergency supplies. At the far end was a steel door with a biometric lock. He pressed his palm against the reader. Nothing happened. "Come on," he muttered. Tried again. The lock flashed red. "What's wrong?" "Power's out. Backup battery should have kicked in, but—" He stepped back and shot the lock 3 times. The mechanism sparked and died. He kicked the door. It swung open to reveal a concrete tunnel stretching into darkness. Emergency lights ran along the ceiling every 20 feet, barely enough to see by. The tunnel was narrow, maybe 6 feet wide. The walls were rough concrete that wept moisture. It smelled like earth and mold and the kind of darkness that had never seen sunlight. They ran. Mia bounced against Serena's shoulder. The little girl had stopped trembling and gone rigid instead. That was worse. That meant she'd gone somewhere inside herself where the fear couldn't reach, where nothing could reach. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the tunnel. Gunfire. Explosions. The federal safe house was being torn apart. Men were dying up there. Dying to buy them time. Dying because Serena had saved a mafia boss's life weeks ago and set all of this in motion. Lucien ran ahead with his phone's flashlight cutting through the gloom. Serena focused on his back, on keeping pace, on not falling, on holding Mia tight enough to keep her safe, but not so tight she couldn't breathe. Her lungs burned, her arms ached. Mia wasn't heavy, but carrying a 5-year-old while running through a tunnel wasn't sustainable. She'd give out soon. Her body would betray her. "How much farther?" she gasped. "Quarter mile, maybe less." Might as well have been 100 miles. They kept running. The tunnel curved slightly. The emergency lights flickered. Some were out completely. In those sections, the darkness was absolute. Serena ran blind, trusting Lucian's light ahead, trusting her feet to find the ground. Then she heard it, behind them, in the darkness they'd left behind. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Running, getting closer. "They're in the tunnel," she said. Lucien heard it too. Stopped. Turned. Raised his gun toward the darkness behind them. "Keep going. Don't stop." "I'm not leaving you, Kate." "Yes, you are. End of the tunnel. There's a ladder. Climbs to a maintenance hatch. Gets you to the surface." His voice was steel. No room for argument. "You get Mia out. You run. You don't look back." "Lucien, go." Muzzle flashes lit up the tunnel behind them. Bullets sparked off concrete. Serena ran. Didn't think. Didn't argue. Just ran with Mia clutched against her and Lucian's gunfire echoing behind them. Her daughter was crying now. Quiet sobs that shook her small frame. Serena whispered things she'd never remember. Promises and lies and desperate prayers to nothing and no one. Oh, the tunnel ended at a vertical shaft, just like Lucian said. A ladder bolted to the concrete, climbing up to a round hatch maybe 20 feet above. Serena set Mia down. Her arms screamed in relief. "Baby, I need you to climb. Can you do that?" "I'm scared." "I know, but you're braver than you're scared. Remember?" It was something Serena used to tell her when Mia was afraid of the dark, when she didn't want to go to daycare, when the world felt too big and she felt too small. Mia nodded, grabbed the ladder, started climbing. Her movements were slow, careful, but she climbed. Serena looked back. Lucien was retreating down the tunnel, firing, reloading, firing again. Men were chasing him, shadows moving in the darkness, getting closer with every second. He reached the shaft, saw Mia climbing. "Go, I'll cover you." Serena grabbed the ladder, started up after her daughter. Below her, Lucien positioned himself at the base of the shaft, created a choke point. Anyone who wanted to reach the ladder had to go through him. Mia reached the top, pushed at the hatch. It didn't budge. "It's stuck," she called down. Her voice was thin, terrified. "Push harder, baby. Use your shoulder." Mia tried again. The hatch groaned but didn't open. Below, the first attacker reached the shaft. Lucien shot him. The man fell. Another appeared. Lucien fired twice more. That one dropped too. But there were more. Always more. Serena reached the top, braced herself on the ladder, and put her shoulder against the hatch next to Mia's. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They pushed together. The hatch shrieked and gave, swung open. Cold night air rushed in. "Out! Now!" Serena lifted Mia through the opening. Her daughter scrambled onto grass. Serena followed, pulled herself up and out into a field of dead grass and scrub brush. The access road was 50 yards away, a strip of cracked asphalt cutting through nothing. Gunfire erupted from the hatch behind them. Serena turned, saw Lucien climbing, saw men at the base of the shaft shooting up at him. He made it 3 rungs before a bullet caught him in the leg. He grunted, nearly lost his grip. Blood ran down his pant leg. "Lucien!" Serena reached for him. "Run!" he said through gritted teeth. "Take Mia and run!" "Not without you. I'm slowing you down. They catch me. Maybe they stop chasing you." "That's not how this works." "It's exactly how this works." He hauled himself up another rung. The effort made his face go white. "I'm the one they want, the witness. Kill me, maybe they let you go." "You don't believe that?" "No, but it's a nice thought." He reached the top. Serena grabbed his vest and helped pull him out. He collapsed on the grass. Blood soaked his leg. The bullet had gone through the calf. Clean through. That was good. But he was bleeding heavily. That was bad. Men were climbing the ladder now, coming up after them. "Go," Lucien said. "I'll hold them here. Give you time." "Stop trying to be a hero. You're terrible at it." Serena got her shoulder under his arm, hauled him to his feet. "Mia, run toward the road. We're right behind you." Her daughter ran. Serena half carried, half dragged Lucien after her. His weight was immense. Every step was agony. Her muscles screamed. Her back felt like it was tearing in half. Behind them, men emerged from the hatch. 3, 4, 5. All armed. All moving fast. They weren't going to make it. The math was simple and brutal. Lucien was too heavy. They were too slow. The shooters were too close. Serena's mind raced, looking for options, for anything. The access road ahead. Empty. No vehicles, no help. The field around them. Flat. Nowhere to hide. The men behind them, getting closer, raising their weapons. She was going to watch her daughter die. Right here. Right now. In this empty field in the middle of nowhere. Because she'd saved the wrong man on the wrong night. Then headlights blazed to life on the access road. A vehicle roared toward them. Not a car. A truck. Big. Industrial. It skidded to a stop 20 yards away. The door flew open. Mrs. Chen jumped out with a rifle. She fired over their heads. Precise. Controlled. The men behind them scattered, dove for cover in the grass. "Move!" Mrs. Chen shouted. Serena dragged Lucien faster. Mia reached the truck first. Mrs. Chen grabbed her and threw her into the cab. Serena and Lucien stumbled up to the vehicle. Mrs. Chen fired 3 more times, buying seconds. They climbed in. Mrs. Chen slammed the door and gunned the engine. The truck lurched forward. Bullets punched through the rear window. Safety glass cracked, but held. Mrs. Chen drove like she was trying to kill the road. Accelerated hard. The truck fishtailed, then caught traction. They launched down the access road while gunfire chased them into the darkness. "How did you—" Serena started. "I told you, I don't let him do stupid things alone." Mrs. Chen's eyes were on the road. "The compound was overrun. I barely got out. Came here hoping I wasn't too late." "You're bleeding," Lucien said. His voice was weak, thready. Mrs. Chen's left arm was soaked with blood. A through and through. She drove one-handed like it was nothing. "I've had worse. You're the one who's about to pass out." Lucien's head lolled against the seat. His eyes were unfocused, shock setting in. He'd lost too much blood, needed medical attention, needed it now. "Hospital?" Serena asked. "Too risky. They'll be watching emergency rooms." Mrs. Chen took a corner at speed. "I have a place. Not far. Someone who can patch him up. Someone you trust?" "Nobody I trust, but somebody I can control." They drove for 20 minutes. The road went from access route to county highway to city streets, back toward Blackwater, back toward the place where this had all started. Mrs. Chen navigated through side streets and alleys, checking mirrors constantly, looking for tails, for traps, for anything that didn't fit. Finally, she pulled into the underground parking garage of an apartment building that looked like it had been condemned 10 years ago. Pulled into a spot near the elevator, killed the engine. "Stay here. Watch him. I'll be back in 2 minutes." She disappeared into the elevator. Serena sat in the cab with Mia pressed against her side and Lucian bleeding out next to them. The little girl was silent now. Not crying, not speaking, just staring straight ahead at nothing. Mia? Serena touched her daughter's face. Baby, can you hear me? Nothing. Her daughter had gone somewhere far away, somewhere safe inside her own head, somewhere the violence couldn't reach. Serena's heart broke into smaller pieces than she'd known were possible. The elevator opened. Mrs. Chen emerged with a man, late 60s, Asian. He carried a medical bag that looked like it had seen heavy use, didn't ask questions, just opened the truck door and started examining Lucian's leg. Bullets through, that's good. Missed the artery, also good. He pulled out supplies. I need better light. They moved to the building's maintenance room, bare concrete, fluorescent lights that flickered. The doctor laid Lucian on a workbench and got to work, cleaned the wound, injected local anesthetic, started stitching. Lucien was conscious, but barely. His face was gray, lips bloodless. Serena, I'm here. Mia? She's okay. She's safe. Good. That's good. His eyes struggled to focus. Listen, the records. Already released, 6 a.m. Nothing can stop it now. I know. So we won. Sort of. Sort of. My father's empire. Your father's revenge. All of it. Burning down. He smiled weakly. Hell of a thing. Rest. Save your strength. For what? This is the end. You know it. I know it. His hand found hers, gripped weakly. But Mia gets out. That was the deal. That was always the deal. You're getting out too. Sure. Whatever helps you sleep. The doctor finished stitching, bandaged the wound. Shot Lucian full of antibiotics and something for the pain. He needs rest, fluids, real medical attention within 24 hours or infection sets in. Mrs. Chen paid him. Cash. A lot of it. He took it and left without a word. They moved to a safe apartment 3 floors up. 1 bedroom, barely furnished, the kind of place that existed specifically to hide people who didn't want to be found. Serena put Mia in the bed. Her daughter lay down without protest, without saying anything, just curled into a ball and closed her eyes. But she wasn't sleeping. Serena could tell, just pretending, trying to make the world go away. In the living room, Lucien sat on the couch with his leg elevated. Color was coming back to his face. The painkillers were kicking in. Mrs. Chen stood at the window, watching the street below. We have maybe 6 hours until the records go public. After that, every law enforcement agency in the country will be looking for you, as witnesses, as protection assets. And before that, Serena asked, before that, the Castellanos will throw everything they have at killing you, because once you're in federal custody, you're untouchable. So we hide for 6 hours. We try, but they have resources, informants, people in places we don't expect. Mrs. Chen turned from the window. And they know the records are about to drop, which means they're desperate. Desperate people make stupid moves, dangerous moves. As if summoned by her words, Serena's phone rang. She'd forgotten she even had it. Pulled it from her pocket. Unknown number. Don't answer, Lucian said. She answered. Put it on speaker. A man's voice. Older, cultured. The kind of voice that came from expensive private schools and generations of wealth. Ms. Vale, my name is Victor Castellano. I believe you know who I am. Serena's blood turned to ice. Damien's uncle, the head of the Castellano Empire. I know who you are, she said. Good. That saves time. Victor's tone was pleasant, conversational, like they were discussing the weather. You've caused me considerable difficulty. Killed my nephew. Stolen valuable information. Cost me millions in damages and lost operations. Your nephew tried to kill me. Multiple times. Yes. Damien was always impulsive, lacked subtlety. I tried to teach him patience, but he never learned. A pause. Still, he was family, and family debts must be paid. What do you want? I want what I've always wanted. The records. The real ones. Not the fake your clever housekeeper substituted. Victor's voice hardened slightly. I know you have them. I know you plan to release them. I'm offering you one chance to reconsider. Or what? Or I kill everyone you've ever cared about. everyone you've ever spoken to, everyone whose name appears in your phone's contact list. I burn your old apartment building to the ground with everyone inside. I find the neighbor who used to watch your daughter, and I make her disappear. I find every server you worked with at that restaurant, and I hurt them in ways that will make them beg for death. Serena's hand tightened on the phone. You already firebombed my building, killed my neighbors. That was a warning. Imagine what I do when I'm actually trying. Victor let the words settle. Give me the records. Walk away. I'll let you and your daughter disappear. New names, new lives. I'll even give you money, enough to be comfortable. All you have to do is not release the information. And Lucien? Mr. Moretti is a different matter. His father and I had an understanding, an arrangement. Young Lucien broke that arrangement. He must answer for it. So you kill him and we go free. Yes. Serena looked at Lucien. He shook his head, mouthed the word no. Counter offer, Serena said. You let all three of us go. We release the records. You spend the rest of your life in prison. Everyone wins. Victor laughed. It was a warm sound, genuine. I appreciate the spirit, truly. But that's not how this works. His tone shifted, became cold. You have 2 hours. After that, I start killing. Every hour you delay, someone dies. Friends, coworkers. That waitress Rosa who watched your daughter. The nice federal agents who tried to protect you. Everyone. The records release at 6 a.m. no matter what we do. Copies are already with the FBI. With journalists. We can't stop it. Then you have until 6 a.m. 2 hours. Bring me the original documents, the physical evidence, the files, everything. And I'll consider letting you live long enough to see your daughter grow up. Where? The vineyard, where my nephew died. Where this all started. Fitting, don't you think? Victor's voice was almost warm again. Come alone. Just you and Moretti. Leave the child somewhere safe. If I see federal agents or police or any hint of a trap, everyone dies. Do you understand? Yes. Good. 2 hours, Miss Vale. I suggest you hurry. He hung up. Silence filled the apartment. Heavy, suffocating. It's a trap, Mrs. Chen said. Obviously. Of course it's a trap. Lucien's voice was strained. He's going to kill us no matter what, but he'll do it slowly. Make it last. Make an example. So we don't go, Serena said. Then he kills everyone else. And he will. Men like Victor Castellano don't make idle threats. He'll burn through innocent people until he finds something that hurts you enough to force your hand. The records release in 2 hours anyway. Once they're public, killing us doesn't help him. It helps him feel better. It sends a message. And Victor's old enough to remember when respect and fear were currencies that mattered more than money. Lucien struggled to sit up straighter. We go. We meet him. We end this. You can barely walk, so you carry me. That's not a plan. It's the only plan we have. Mrs. Chen moved away from the window. If you go to that vineyard, you die. Both of you. There's no scenario where Victor lets you walk away. I know, Lucien said. So do I, Serena added. Then why? Because people are dying because of us. Because of choices we made. Because I spotted a poisoned cork and decided to save a stranger's life. Serena's voice was steady, resolved. Because my father died trying to expose these people, and his death needs to mean something. Because my daughter deserves to grow up in a world where men like Victor Castellano don't have power anymore. Noble, stupid, but noble. Mrs. Chen pulled out her phone. I'll make arrangements. Get Mia somewhere truly safe, somewhere even I don't know about. That way if they capture you and torture you, you can't tell them where she is. Serena's throat closed. The thought of never seeing her daughter again. Of Mia growing up without her mother. Of all the bedtime stories and scraped knees and first days of school she'd miss. But alive. Mia would be alive, would be safe, would have a chance. That was enough. Had to be enough. She went into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed. Mia's eyes were open now, staring at the ceiling. Baby, I need to tell you something. You're leaving again. Yes. You're not coming back this time. Serena's breath caught. Why would you say that? Because I heard. The phone call. The man said he's going to kill you. Mia turned to look at her, those dark eyes that saw too much. understood too much. You're going anyway because you think it'll save me. Mia. But it won't, because bad people don't keep promises. You taught me that, remember? The little girl's voice was flat, emotionless, like she'd used up all her fear and had nothing left. You told me when Daddy kept promising to come back and never did. You said bad people make promises they don't keep. Danny, her ex-husband, the father who'd walked out when Mia was 2 and never looked back. Serena had tried to shield her daughter from that truth for years, tried to make excuses. But eventually, the truth became impossible to hide. You're right, Serena said quietly. Bad people don't keep promises. But sometimes we have to try anyway. Sometimes we have to believe there's still good in the world, even when everything says there isn't. I don't want you to go. I know, baby. I'll be alone. No, you won't. Mrs. Chen is going to take you somewhere safe, somewhere I can't tell you about because knowing would put you in danger, but she'll keep you safe. I trust her. I don't want Mrs. Chen. I want you. Serena pulled her daughter close, felt the small body that had come from her own, the little person she'd made and protected and loved more than she'd known it was possible to love anything. When I was pregnant with you, Serena whispered, I was so scared. I was 19. Your father was useless. My father had just died. I had no money, no plan, no idea how to be a mother. Mia was silent, listening. But then you were born, and I looked at you, this tiny, perfect person, and I knew I would do anything to protect you, anything to give you a better life than I had, anything to make sure you were safe. Serena's voice broke. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm keeping that promise, the only promise that ever mattered. By dying? By making sure you live. Mia pulled back, looked at her mother with eyes that were far too old for a 5-year-old. When I grow up, I'm going to be like you. I'm going to be brave and strong and protect people. You're already brave and strong, but I'm not a protector yet. Not like you, not like the man with the scary eyes who keeps saving us. Lucienne. He loves you, I can tell. Serena blinked. What? The way he looks at you. The way he always makes sure you're safe first. Daddy never looked at you like that. Mia's small hand touched her mother's face. It's okay if you love him too, even if he's scary, even if he does bad things, because he's trying to be good now, I can tell. Tears ran down Serena's cheeks. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just didn't notice because you were too busy keeping me alive. They held each other, mother and daughter, for what might be the last time. Serena memorized everything, the weight of her, the smell of her hair, the sound of her breathing, every detail, every moment, because memory was all she'd have left. Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway. It's time. Serena kissed her daughter's forehead. I love you, more than anything. Remember that. Always remember that. I love you too, Mama. Be brave. Be strong. Be better than all of us. I will. Serena stood, walked out of the room without looking back. If she looked back, she'd never leave. Would grab Mia and run and keep running until the world ended, or they did. In the living room, Lucien was on his feet, barely. His face was pale but determined. Mrs. Chen had given him a crutch. He leaned on it like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Ready? He asked. No. Me neither. Mrs. Chen handed Serena a gun. Full magazine, one in the chamber. Safety's off. Point and shoot. Nothing fancy. Serena took it. The weight was familiar now. Not comfortable. Never comfortable. But familiar. The original records are in the truck, Mrs. Chen continued, in a case under the back seat. Victor will want to see them, to verify they're real before he kills you. Encouraging. I'm a realist. Mrs. Chen's expression softened fractionally. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing, both of you. Will you tell Mia that when she asks why her mother never came back? Yes, every day if I have to. They left, down the elevator, through the parking garage, into the truck. Lucien in the passenger seat, Serena driving. Mrs. Chen and Mia stayed behind. Serena started the engine but didn't move. Couldn't move. Her hands gripped the steering wheel and shook. We can still run, Lucian said quietly. Leave the city. Leave the country. Try to disappear. Victor will hunt us forever. We'll kill everyone we know, everyone we've ever spoken to. You said it yourself. I know, but at least we'd have time. A few more days, weeks maybe. Some people don't even get that. Serena looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the man beneath the monster. The boy who'd been shaped by violence but was desperately trying to be something else. Someone better. You could have let me die, she said. That first night at the restaurant. Could have drunk the wine. Could have ended all of this before it started. But I didn't. Why? Because you warned me. Because you didn't have to. Because you saw danger, and your first instinct was to protect a stranger, even though it cost you everything. He looked back at her. That's not something monsters do. That's what heroes do. I'm not a hero. I'm just a waitress who got lucky. You're a mother who would die for her daughter. That's the most heroic thing there is. They sat in silence. The engine idled. Time ticked away. Outside the parking garage, the city was waking up. People going to work, to school, living normal lives, unaware that everything was about to change. In 90 minutes, the records would go public. Senators would resign, judges would be arrested, criminal empires would collapse. The world would shift on its axis. But Serena wouldn't be there to see it. She'd be dead in a vineyard, beside a man she'd known for days, but somehow understood better than people she'd known for years. Let's go, she said finally. Let's finish this. She put the truck in gear, drove out of the parking garage, headed toward the vineyard where this had all begun, where Damien had died, where Victor waited to kill them both. The drive took 40 minutes. Dawn was breaking, gray light spreading across the city. The sky was heavy with clouds that threatened rain. Everything looked washed out, colorless, like the world had given up trying to be beautiful. They reached the vineyard as the first drops started falling. The main building was still a ruin. Bullet holes from their last visit. Scorch marks from fires that had burned themselves out. The dead vines stretched in every direction like an army of corpses frozen mid-charge. 3 vehicles sat in the clearing. Black SUVs, professional. Victor's men. Serena parked the truck and turned off the engine. Rain drummed on the roof. She reached under the seat and pulled out the case containing the records. The physical evidence. Giovanni Russo's final revenge. This is it, Lucian said. Last chance to run. Where would we go? I don't know. Somewhere warm, somewhere far away. Somewhere we could pretend to be normal people for a little while. That sounds nice. It does, doesn't it? They got out. Rain soaked through their clothes immediately. Serena carried the case. Lucien limped beside her on his crutch. They walked toward the ruined building, toward the men waiting inside, toward the end. The building's interior was darker than before. The emergency lighting was dead. Only natural light filtered through holes in the roof. Rain dripped through gaps. Puddles formed on the concrete floor. Victor Castellano stood in the center of the room. He was smaller than Serena expected, maybe 5'8", slim build, gray hair perfectly styled. He wore a suit that probably cost more than she'd made in a year, looked more like a banker than a crime lord. 10 men surrounded him, all armed, all watching Serena and Lucian with the kind of attention that preceded violence. Ms. Vale, Mr. Moretti. Victor smiled. It was warm, genuine. Thank you for coming. I know this can't be easy. You're going to kill us, Serena said. Let's not pretend this is a social call. Direct. I appreciate that. Victor's smile didn't fade. But before we get to the unpleasant business, I'd like to see what you brought me. Serena held up the case. The original records, everything my father documented, everything you've been killing for. May I? She walked forward. Her legs felt like they belonged to someone else. Every step was a choice. Keep moving or run. Keep moving or fight. Keep moving toward death or choose life. But there was no choice. Not really. There never had been. She handed Victor the case. He opened it, examined the contents. Wine labels, documents, USB drives. Everything Giovanni had hidden. Everything he'd died to protect. Victor read through several pages. His expression never changed. Finally, he looked up. Your father was thorough, meticulous. These records are complete. Devastating. He closed the case. They would destroy me, destroy my organization, Destroy hundreds of people across multiple countries. Good, Serena said. Bold but foolish. Victor handed the case to one of his men. Because you see, Ms. Vale, I already know these records are being released. Already know that by dawn, every law enforcement agency in America will have copies. Already know my empire is collapsing even as we speak. Serena's blood went cold. Then why chapterams? Because I wanted to look you in the eye, wanted to understand what kind of person destroys hundreds of lives for revenge, what kind of woman sacrifices herself for a child who will grow up without her. Victor moved closer. Your father did the same thing, you know, sacrificed everything for you. Thought if he turned informant, you'd be safe, protected, free. And your people killed him for it. We did. Because men like your father don't get to change their minds. Don't get to decide they're done with this life. They're in until they die. That's the bargain. Victor stopped 3 feet away. But I'll admit, watching his daughter complete his mission, watching you burn down everything he died trying to destroy, there's a certain poetry to it. So you brought us here just to gloat before you kill us? No. I brought you here to offer you something unexpected. Victor's expression changed, became something harder. I'm going to let you live. Silence. Just rain and breathing and the sound of Serena's heart trying to break through her ribs. What? Lucian said. I'm letting you go. Both of you. Walk away. Disappear. Take your daughter and run as far and fast as you can. Victor turned, walked back toward his men. In 30 minutes, the FBI will swarm this place. They'll find me here. They'll arrest me. I'll spend the rest of my life in prison. My empire will be dismantled. My legacy will be nothing. Then why let us go? Serena asked. Serena, because your father won. Against all odds. Against every powerful person who tried to stop him. He won. His information will destroy us all, and I find that I respect it. Respect him. Respect you. Victor looked at her. So go. Live. Raise your daughter. Be better than we were. Show her there's still hope in this world, even after everything you've seen. Serena didn't move. Couldn't move. This had to be a trick. A trap. Victor Castellano didn't just let people walk away. There's a condition, Victor said. There it was. What condition? Lucian asked. Victor's eyes moved to him. You stay. Face justice. Testify against everyone, every crime, every operation, every person your father ever dealt with. You become the witness that destroys what's left of our world. And if I refuse, then I kill Serena right now, in front of you, slowly, and then I kill her daughter, and then I kill every federal agent protecting her, and then I kill you. Victor's voice was calm, matter of fact. Or you accept. You pay for your father's sins and your own, and Serena gets to live, gets to watch Mia grow up, gets to be the mother your choices almost prevented her from being. Lucien looked at Serena. She saw the answer in his eyes before he spoke. No, she said. No, you're not doing this. It's already done. We walk out together, or not at all. That's not one of the options. Then I'm making it an option. Serena moved between Lucian and Victor. You want a witness? You've got one. Me. I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. Every crime I witnessed. Every person involved. Everything. You weren't there. You're not credible. Lucien was inside the organization. He knows names, faces, details. He's worth 1,000 of you. Victor shook his head. This isn't negotiable, Ms. Vale. He stays. You go. Those are the terms. Then change the terms. I can't, because this isn't about justice. It's about poetry. About sons paying for their father's sins. About empires burning and new worlds being born from the ashes. Victor's expression was almost sad. Your father started this. You finished it. But Lucien has to pay the price. That's how this story ends. Serena turned to Lucien. Tell him no. Tell him we're leaving together. I can't. Yes, you can. No, I can't. Because he's right. My father killed your father. I've killed dozens of people. I've hurt more. I've built my life on violence and blood. And if my dying means you and Mia get to live, then that's not a sacrifice. That's justice. You're not dying. You're going to prison. You're going to testify. You're going to live in a cage for the rest of my life, with every criminal in America trying to kill me. That's not living. That's just a slower death. It's still a chance. It's a punishment, and I deserve it. Lucien touched her face. But you don't. Mia doesn't. So take the deal. Walk away. Be free. Tears mixed with rain on Serena's face. I can't leave you here. You have to. Why? Because saving you was the first good thing I ever did. Let me finish it. Let me give you this, please. And Serena understood. This was who Lucien Moretti really was beneath the violence and the darkness. Someone who'd spent his whole life being told he was a monster. Who'd believed it, who'd become it. But who'd found in the last moments that mattered a chance to be something else. Something better. Someone worth saving even if he couldn't save himself. She kissed him. There in the ruins of the vineyard, with rain falling and men watching and the end waiting. She kissed him and tried to pour everything she couldn't say into that moment. Every thank you, every sorry, every what if. Then she pulled back. Okay, she whispered. Okay. She turned to Victor. I'm leaving, but if anything happens to him, if he dies in prison, if someone gets to him, I'll come back and I'll destroy whatever's left of your organization, your family, everything. Do you understand? I understand, and I believe you. Victor nodded to his men. They moved aside, creating a path to the door, to freedom. Go, Ms. Vale. Go be a mother. Go be free. Go show your daughter what winning looks like. Serena walked towards the door. Each step was agony. Each step felt like betrayal. She wanted to turn back, wanted to fight, wanted to die beside Lucien rather than leave him. But she kept walking, for Mia, for the little girl waiting somewhere safe who needed her mother more than Serena needed to be a martyr. She reached the door, stopped, looked back. Lucien stood there with his crutch, blood seeping through his bandage, surrounded by men with guns. He smiled. It was sad and broken and real. Tell Mia, he called. Tell her the man with the scary eyes said she was right, about all of it. Serena nodded, couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. Then she walked out into the rain, to the truck, climbed in, started the engine, drove away from the vineyard, away from Lucien, away from everything, toward whatever came next. Behind her, as she reached the access road, she heard sirens, saw flashing lights, federal vehicles converging on the vineyard. Mrs. Chen had called them, had given them Victor's location. The final piece of the plan falling into place. By the time the sun rose, Victor Castellano would be in custody. The records would be public. The criminal underworld would be burning, and Serena would be driving toward a new life, a hidden life, a safe life, with her daughter, without the man who'd saved them both. The rain fell harder. The wipers could barely keep up. Serena drove through tears and water and grief, drove until the vineyard was miles behind her, drove until Mrs. Chen's safe house appeared ahead, parked, turned off the engine, sat there in silence. Then the passenger door opened. Mrs. Chen slid in. She was soaked. Her wounded arm was bandaged properly now. She handed Serena a phone. The FBI wants to talk to you. They'll arrange protection, new identities, everything you need. And Mia? Safe. Waiting upstairs. Doesn't know what happened yet. I thought you should tell her. Serena took the phone, but didn't dial. Just held it. He stayed, she said. Lucien stayed, sacrificed himself so we could walk away. I know. I was listening on the wire he was wearing. Mrs. Chen's voice was gentle. He made his choice. Honor it by living, by raising your daughter right, by being the person he died to protect. He's not dead. Not yet. But prison will kill him eventually. Men like Lucien don't survive long in cages. Too many enemies. Too many people with grudges. She paused. But he'll die knowing he saved you. That has to count for something. Serena looked at the phone, at the promise of safety, of normal life, of everything she'd fought for, and she made a choice. Call them, she said. Tell them I'll cooperate. I'll testify. I'll do whatever they need. But I want something in return. What? I want Lucien Moretti and the highest security witness protection they have. I want him alive. I want updates, regular ones. And when this is all over, when the trials are done and the danger has passed, I want to see him again. They'll never agree to that. Then I don't cooperate. I disappear, take Mia and vanish. They can hunt down witnesses without me. Mrs. Chen studied her for a long moment, then smiled slightly. You really do love him. He saved my daughter. He saved me. Over and over. Even when it cost him everything, that's not something you walk away from. Even if he's a monster? He was a monster, but monsters can change. I've seen it. Serena's voice was firm, certain. Make the call. Get me the deal. We're ending this my way. Mrs. Chen nodded, pulled out her own phone, started dialing, and Serena sat in the truck while dawn broke over Blackwater City, while federal agents swarmed the vineyard, while the records her father had died to protect finally saw daylight, while the man she'd fallen for sat in the back of a federal vehicle, heading toward a life in cages and courtrooms and constant danger, but alive, still fighting, still trying to be better than the world had made him. And Serena promised herself that she'd fight too, would testify, would help bring down every monster her father had documented, would make sure both their deaths meant something. And when it was over, when the dust settled and the trials ended and the danger finally passed, she'd find Lucien Moretti again, would thank him properly for the gift he'd given her, the gift of a future worth living. 6 months later, Serena stood in a federal courtroom in Alexandria, Virginia, and watched Victor Castellano receive 3 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. The judge's voice was steady as she read the charges: racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder, 17 counts, each one carrying decades. Victor sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit that stripped away every trace of the elegant crime lord he'd been. His hair had gone completely white. His face was gaunt. Prison had aged him 20 years and 6 months. When the judge finished, Victor turned. His eyes found Serena in the gallery. He nodded once. Not threatening, not angry, just acknowledging. You won. I lost. This is how it ends. The marshals led him away. Serena watched until he disappeared through the side door. Watched the physical manifestation of her father's final revenge vanish into the federal prison system, where he'd spend whatever years he had left counting the cost of underestimating a 19-year-old girl and her dead father's hidden records. Outside the courthouse, FBI agent Rachel Morris waited beside a black sedan. She was the lead agent assigned to Serena's case. Late 30s, sharp suit, eyes that had seen enough horror to fill libraries but still believed justice mattered. That's the last of the major trials, Rachel said as Serena approached. The senators pleaded out. The judges are awaiting sentencing. Most of the mid-level operators took deals rather than face what you put on record. How many convictions total? 217, with another 93 cases still pending. Rachel opened the car door. Your father's records were the most comprehensive documentation of organized crime the FBI has ever seen. Prosecutors are calling it the Rosetta Stone of the Eastern Seaboard's criminal underground. My father was thorough. He was also terrified. The psychiatrist who evaluated you thinks Giovanni knew they'd kill him, thinks he spent his last year preparing you to finish what he started, teaching you just enough to recognize the evidence without realizing what you were being trained for. Serena climbed into the sedan. The leather was cold. She'd testified in 17 trials over 6 months, had spent hundreds of hours in depositions and debriefings, had relived every moment from that night at the restaurant to the vineyard where she'd left Lucien behind. The nightmares had stopped 2 months ago, or maybe she'd just gotten better at ignoring them. Rachel drove through Alexandria's streets toward the safe house where Serena and Mia had been living. It was a suburban home on a quiet street. 3 bedrooms, a small backyard, the kind of place that screamed normal American family. The kind of place Serena had always wanted but never thought she'd have. Except it was a lie. A carefully constructed fiction maintained by the federal government. The house was wired with cameras and panic buttons. Agents rotated through the neighborhood disguised as joggers and dog walkers. Every shopping trip was supervised. Every phone call monitored. It was safety. But it was also a cage. We're close to the end, Rachel said as they pulled into the driveway. Another month, maybe 2. Once the remaining trials conclude, we'll transition you into permanent witness protection. New names, new city, real freedom. And Lucien? Rachel's jaw tightened. She never liked when Serena asked about him. Moretti's testimony concluded last week. He's been moved to a maximum security facility, location classified. He'll spend the next 20 to 30 years there. For what crime? Racketeering, conspiracy. The prosecutors offered a deal. He gives them everything. He avoids death penalty charges, but still serves time for the crimes he committed before cooperating. That wasn't the deal we discussed. The deal we discussed assumed you'd accept full witness protection immediately. You insisted on staying until all the trials concluded. That gave the prosecutors time to build cases against Moretti independent of his cooperation. Rachel parked, turned off the engine. You can't save him, Serena. He made choices. Now he's paying for them. He saved my daughter. He saved me. Multiple times. He also killed people, ran criminal operations, destroyed lives. The fact that he helped bring down bigger criminals doesn't erase what he did. Rachel's voice softened. I know you care about him. I know what he sacrificed. But some prices can't be negotiated away. Serena got out of this car without responding, walked up the driveway to the house. Mrs. Chen was waiting inside with Mia. The older woman had refused witness protection, had instead taken a position as Serena's live-in assistant / bodyguard / the closest thing to family either of them had left. Mia sat at the kitchen table doing homework. She was bigger now, 6 years old. Her face had lost some of its baby roundness. She looked more like her father every day, which Serena tried not to resent. How was court? Mia asked without looking up from her math worksheet. Good. Victor Castellano got 3 life sentences. Is that the man who tried to kill us? His uncle did. Victor just enabled it. What's enabled mean? It means he made it possible. Let it happen. So he's guilty too. Yes, baby, he's guilty too. Mia nodded, went back to her math. She'd gotten good at processing terrible information and moving on. Too good. Her therapist said it was a defense mechanism. Said eventually Mia would need to unpack all the trauma she'd witnessed. But for now, compartmentalization was keeping her functional. Mrs. Chen appeared from the kitchen with tea. Agent Morris called ahead, said you were quiet on the drive back. I'm tired. You're thinking about Lucien Yan. I'm always thinking about Lucy Yan. Mrs. Chen set the tea down, sat across from Serena. Her wounded arm had healed, but she still favored it. Some injuries never fully faded. He knew what would happen when he took that deal, Mrs. Chen said quietly. Knew he'd end up in prison regardless. He chose to make it mean something. Doesn't make it fair. Fair has nothing to do with it. He was born into a life he didn't choose. Shaped into a weapon by his father. He did terrible things. And then, at the end, he did one good thing. One truly selfless thing. That's more than most people in his position ever manage. Serena sipped her tea. It was too hot. Burned her tongue. She drank it anyway. The FBI won't tell me where he is. Won't let me visit. Won't even confirm if he's still alive. Her voice was flat. For all I know, he's already dead. Killed by someone with a grudge. Someone whose family he destroyed. If he was dead, they'd tell you. His death would affect your security status. Possible retaliation vectors. Mrs. Chen's logic was cold but accurate. The fact that they're staying quiet means he's alive. Probably in administrative segregation. Isolated. Protected. Alone. Yes. Alone. Mrs. Chen stood, touched Serena's shoulder. But alive. And sometimes that's the only victory we get. That night, after Mia went to bed, Serena sat in the backyard and stared at stars she couldn't see through the light pollution. The neighborhood was quiet, normal, families having dinner, kids playing video games, dogs barking. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She'd learned to ignore them. Journalists still tried to contact her. True crime podcasters, documentary filmmakers. Everyone wanted the story of the waitress who brought down the Castellano empire, but she answered this one. Didn't know why. Just felt something. Serena Vale? A woman's voice. Professional? Clipped. Who's asking? My name is Director Sarah Chen. I run a program within the Justice Department you haven't been briefed on. I'm calling because I have information about Lucien Moretti you'll want to hear. Serena sat up straighter. What kind of information? The kind we don't discuss over unsecured lines. Can you meet me tomorrow? Neutral location. Come alone. The FBI monitors my movements. I know. I'll handle Agent Morris. Can you meet or not? Serena thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Where? The next morning, Serena told Rachel she needed space, time to process. The agent didn't love it, but agreed to a few hours unsupervised as long as Serena stayed in approved zones and checked in every 30 minutes. The meeting was at a coffee shop in Georgetown. Expensive, crowded, the kind of place where nobody paid attention to anyone else's conversations. Director Sarah Chen was younger than Serena expected, maybe 40, Asian American, dressed like she'd come from Capitol Hill. She sat at a corner table with 2 coffees already waiting. "Ms. Vale, thank you for coming." Sarah gestured to the seat across from her. "I imagine you have questions." "About 1,000. I'll answer what I can. But first, I need you to understand what I'm about to tell you is classified. You can't share it with Agent Morris, can't share it with Mrs. Chen, can't share it with anyone." "What is this about?" "Lucian Moretti isn't in a maximum security prison. He's not in any prison." Sarah slid a folder across the table. "He's working for us." Serena opened the folder. Photographs. Documents. Mission reports. Lucien in tactical gear. Lucien with a sniper rifle. Lucien in what looked like a third world country standing over a body. What the hell is this? After his cooperation brought down the Castellano organization, we offered him a choice. Spend 20 years in a cage where he'd likely be killed within months, or work for a program that targets criminal organizations the FBI can't touch through conventional means. You're using him as an assassin. We're using him as an intelligence asset with specialized skills. He infiltrates organizations, gathers evidence. When evidence isn't enough, he does what's necessary to dismantle them. Sarah's voice was matter-of-fact. In 6 months, he's been instrumental in taking down 3 human trafficking rings, 2 drug cartels, and a weapons smuggling operation that was selling American military hardware to terrorist groups. Serena's hands shook. He thinks he's in prison, thinks he's paying for his crimes. No, he knows exactly what he's doing. He volunteered for this program, said if he was going to spend the rest of his life fighting, he wanted it to count for something, wanted to actually help people instead of hurting them. Why are you telling me this? Sarah leaned forward. Because his next assignment is dangerous, likely one way. He's going deep cover inside a Russian oligarch's organization. Years-long operation. If it works, we dismantle a network that's responsible for billions in illegal weapons sales and thousands of deaths annually. And if it doesn't work, he dies. Slowly, painfully, and we disavow any knowledge of his existence. Serena closed the folder, pushed it away. Why are you telling me this? Because before he leaves, he asked if he could see you, one last time, to say goodbye properly, to make sure you and Mia are safe, to get closure. Sarah's expression softened slightly. I don't usually grant these requests, but after reading what he did for you, what he sacrificed, I'm making an exception. When? Tonight. There's a secure facility 30 miles from here. I can arrange transportation. You'll have 1 hour, no recording devices, no weapons, just conversation. Serena's throat closed. 1 hour. 1 hour. And then he disappears. Becomes someone else. You'll never see him again. Never hear from him. As far as the world is concerned, Lucien Moretti died in federal custody 6 months ago. What do I tell Mia? The truth. That the man who saved you is still fighting, still trying to be better than he was, still trying to make his father's sins matter less than his own choices. That evening, a car arrived at the safe house. Not FBI. Something else. Unmarked. Professional. Sarah Chen sat in the back. Serena climbed in without telling anyone where she was going, left a note for Mrs. Chen, asked her to watch Mia, said she'd be back late. They drove through Virginia countryside as the sun set, arrived at a compound that looked like a corporate retreat. High walls, security checkpoints, buildings that seemed designed to be forgotten. Inside, Sarah led her through sterile hallways to a small conference room, table, 2 chairs, nothing else. 1 hour, Sarah said, starting when he walks through that door. She left. Serena sat, waited, her heart hammered. She hadn't seen Lucien since the vineyard, since she'd driven away and left him to face everything alone. She'd imagined this reunion 1,000 times, what she'd say, how she'd feel, but now that it was happening, her mind was blank. The door opened. Lucian walked in. He looked different, harder. His hair was shorter, military cut. He'd lost weight. His face was leaner. More scars than she remembered, a fresh one across his left cheekbone, another above his right eyebrow, but his eyes were the same. Dark, intense, carrying weight no one should have to carry. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Serena stood, crossed the room, slapped him across the face. That's for lying to me, for making me think you were rotting in a cell somewhere, for letting me grieve you for 6 months. Lucien touched his cheek, nodded. Fair. And this, she kissed him, hard, desperate, trying to compress 6 months of fear and anger and longing into one moment. This is for being alive, for still fighting, for still trying to be better. When they pulled apart, his hand came up to her face, thumb brushing away tears she didn't realize she was crying. I didn't lie. The FBI told you I was in prison. I let them. It was safer for you to believe that than to know what I was really doing. Sarah Chen said you volunteered for this suicide mission program. Why? Because I couldn't sit in a cage, couldn't spend decades staring at walls knowing I'd wasted my life hurting people when I could have been helping them. He moved to the table, sat. And because I owed your father, owed you. My father killed Giovanni. I spent my whole life benefiting from that murder. This is the only way I know how to make it balance. Serena sat across from him. By dying for strangers? By living for something that matters. He leaned back. I've spent 6 months infiltrating organizations that make the Castellanos look like amateurs, seen things that would give you nightmares, done things that I'll never be able to tell you about. And it's working? You're actually making a difference? Yes. 3 trafficking rings shut down, 200 women and children freed, 4 major drug operations dismantled, weapons shipments stopped before they reached war zones. His voice was quiet, steady. It's not redemption. Not really. But it's something. How long? How long what? How long do you have before you disappear into this Russian operation? Before I never see you again? I leave in 48 hours, 3 years deep cover. If I survive that long, 3 years. Might as well be forever. Sarah said it's a one-way mission, that you'll probably die. Probably, but not definitely. I've survived worse odds. He smiled. It was sad and broken and real. And if I do die, at least it'll be doing something that matters, something that helps people instead of hurting them. What about me? What about Mia? Don't we matter? You matter more than anything. That's why I'm doing this. Lucian reached across the table, took her hand. You get a normal life. Safe. Hidden. Free. Mia grows up without fear, without violence, without men like me dragging her into darkness. That only works if I'm gone, if I'm not a target anymore, if everyone thinks I'm dead or disappeared. I don't want you gone. I know. But you need me gone. And sometimes what we need is more important than what we want. They sat in silence, holding hands across a table in a sterile room that smelled like industrial cleaning products and government secrets. Tell me about Mia, Lucian said finally. How is she? Smart, brave, scarred, but healing. She asks about you sometimes. The man with the scary eyes. She remembers everything. What do you tell her? That you're fighting, that you're trying to make the world safer, that you did something very brave so she could grow up without being afraid. Is she afraid? Sometimes. She has nightmares, wakes up screaming. The therapist says it'll fade with time and stability. Serena's voice cracked. But some nights, she asks if the bad men are coming back. If we have to run again. If you're there to protect us. What do you tell her? That the bad men are gone. That we're safe. That you made sure of it. Serena wiped her eyes. I don't tell her that you might be dead in a Russian prison 3 years from now. That seems like too much for a 6-year-old. Lucien was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled something from his pocket. A small box. He slid it across the table. Serena opened it. Inside was a ring. Simple. Silver. No stones. Just clean lines and weight. What is this? Something I bought before everything went to hell. Before the vineyard. Before I knew how this would end. He looked at her. I was going to ask you to marry me. After the trials. After you were safe. I was going to ask if maybe we could try to build something normal, something good. Lucienne, I know it's insane. We barely know each other. We met under the worst possible circumstances. You've seen me kill people, seen the monster I was, the monster I still am in a lot of ways. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed him. But somewhere in all that darkness, I fell in love with your strength, your courage, the way you die for your daughter without hesitation, the way you made me want to be better than I was. Serena couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, just stared at the ring like it was a grenade with the pin pulled. I'm not asking you to marry me, Lucian continued. I'm not stupid enough to think that's possible. I'm asking you to keep this. So when Mia asks about the man with the scary eyes, you can show her. Tell her that he loved her mother, that he tried to be better, that he died trying to make the world safer for little girls like her. You're not dead yet. Not yet. But I will be. Eventually. We both know it. He closed the box, pressed it into her hand. Keep it. Remember me. Help Mia understand that monsters can change, that people aren't just one thing, that sometimes the scariest people do the bravest things. Tears ran down Serena's face freely now. I love you too. I didn't want to, tried not to. You were everything I should have run from, but you saved me, over and over, even when it cost you everything. How am I supposed to just let you go? By being strong, by raising your daughter, by building the life I'll never have, by showing her what winning looks like. He stood, walked around the table, pulled Serena to her feet, and by living, really living, not just surviving, actually being happy. That's what I need from you. That's the only thing that makes any of this worth it. He kissed her, soft, gentle, like he was trying to memorize the taste and feel and weight of it, like he was storing it up for the years of darkness ahead. When they pulled apart, the door opened. Sarah Chen stood there. Time's up. 1 hour, gone like smoke. Lucian touched Serena's face one last time. Goodbye, Serena Vale. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for showing me what being human feels like. Thank you for everything. Don't die, she whispered. Please. Find a way to survive. Come back. If I can. But don't wait for me. Don't put your life on hold. Promise me. I can't. Promise me. She nodded. Couldn't speak. Just nodded. He walked to the door, stopped, looked back. Tell Mia that the man with the scary eyes thinks she's the bravest person he ever met, and that he's sorry he couldn't stay to watch her grow up, but he's fighting for her, for all the kids like her, so they don't have to be scared anymore. Then he was gone. The door closed. Serena stood alone in the sterile room and felt her heart tear in half. Sarah Chen drove her back to the safe house in silence. Didn't offer comfort, didn't explain, just drove. When they pulled up to the house, Sarah finally spoke. For what it's worth, I think he'll survive. He's too stubborn to die, and he has something to live for now. That makes a difference. Does it? In my experience? Yes. People fight harder when they're fighting for something bigger than themselves. Sarah handed her a card. If you need anything, anything at all, call me, day or night. Serena took the card, got out, watched the car drive away. Inside, Mrs. Chen was waiting. She took one look at Serena's face and understood. You saw him. Yes. And? And he's gone. Maybe forever. Maybe he dies. Maybe he survives, and I never hear from him either way. Serena sat on the couch, pulled out the ring box, opened it. But he loved me, loves me, and I have to figure out how to live with that. Mrs. Chen sat beside her. Love is strange, inconvenient, often painful, but it's also what makes us human, what separates us from the monsters. She touched the ring. Keep it, treasure it, and when Mia asks, tell her the truth, that her mother was loved by a man who was brave enough to become better than he was born to be. 3 months later, Serena and Mia moved into permanent witness protection. New city, new names, new life. They settled in Portland, Oregon. Picked it because it was about as far from Blackwater City as they could get without leaving the country. Because it rained a lot, and Mia said rain reminded her of the night they escaped, made her feel brave. Serena got a job at a small bookstore. Nothing glamorous, minimum wage plus employee discount. But it was honest, clean, normal. She helped customers find books, organized shelves, went home at night without blood on her hands. Mia started first grade, made friends, played soccer, had play dates and birthday parties, and all the normal things 6-year-olds did. The nightmares faded. The fear became manageable. She learned to be a kid again instead of a survivor. Mrs. Chen opened a bakery 3 blocks from their apartment, said she was tired of violence and wanted to make things that brought people joy instead of pain. Her croissants became neighborhood famous, and Serena tried to build something resembling happiness. But at night, when Mia was asleep and the rain drummed against the windows, she'd take out the ring, would hold it up to the light, would wonder if Lucien was still alive, still fighting, still trying to be better than his father had made him. Sarah Chen called once every few months, never said much, just confirmed that the program was still active, that assets remained deployed, that operations continued. Serena understood. Lucien was alive, somewhere, doing something dangerous, and that was all she'd ever know. 1 year became 2, 2 became 3. Mia turned 9, started asking questions about her father, the real one, the one who'd left before she could remember him. Serena told her the truth, that Danny Vale had been a coward, had run when things got hard, had chosen himself over his family. Then Mia asked about the other man, the one who'd carried her to safety, who'd stayed behind so they could escape, who'd given up everything to protect them. Serena gave her the ring. This belonged to Lucien Moretti, she said, the man with the scary eyes. He was going to give it to me, but circumstances changed. He wanted you to have it instead. To remember that people can change, that monsters can become heroes if they choose to. Is he dead? Mia asked. Her voice was quiet, careful.
I don't know. Maybe. Probably, but maybe not. Sometimes people surprise you. Do you think about him? Every day. Do you love him? Yes. Even though I don't want to. Even though it hurts. Yes. Mia held the ring up to the light, studied it. When I grow up, I'm going to find him. I'm going to thank him for saving us, for giving me a chance to be normal. He'd like that.
And if he's dead, I'm going to find his grave, put flowers on it, tell him we made it, that we're happy, that his sacrifice wasn't wasted. Serena pulled her daughter close. You're going to be something special, Mia Vale. Something amazing. I learned from the best. They sat together, mother and daughter, survivors, building a life on the ashes of violence and grief and choices that had cost everything but given them everything that mattered. 4 years after that day in the vineyard, Serena received a package. No return address, just her new name and address written in neat block letters. Inside was a photograph. Lucien standing in front of a sunset over water, somewhere tropical. He looked older, more scars, but alive, smiling. On the back, in handwriting she recognized, were 6 words, still fighting, still thinking of you. Serena held the photograph and cried. Relief, joy, grief, all mixed together until she couldn't separate them. He was alive. After 4 years. After everyone had assumed he was dead. After she'd started to believe she'd never hear from him again. He was alive. Mrs. Chen found her sitting at the kitchen table with the photograph clutched in both hands. Is that... Yes. After all this time. After all this time. What will you do? Nothing. He's still deep cover, still fighting, still trying to make the world better. Serena set the photograph down gently. But knowing he's alive, that's enough. That's more than I thought I'd ever have. Is it? It has to be. But 6 months later, another package arrived. This one contained a phone number and a single word, soon. Serena stared at it for a week. Didn't call. Didn't want to hope. Didn't want to believe that maybe, somehow, he'd found a way back. Then one rainy Tuesday evening, there was a knock on her apartment door. She opened it, expecting a neighbor. A delivery. Anything but what she found. Lucien Moretti stood in the hallway, older, scarred, wearing jeans and a jacket that had seen better days, but alive. Real. There. Hi, he said quietly. I'm told I'm supposed to be dead, but I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd check in anyway. Serena's knees went weak. You're actually here after 7 years. You're actually standing in my hallway.
Mission concluded 6 weeks ago. Russian operation dismantled. Oligarch in custody. I'm officially dead according to international records. Unofficially, I'm unemployed and looking for a fresh start. In Portland.
Heard it's nice. Rains a lot.
Good coffee. Better bookstores. He smiled. That same broken smile that had haunted her dreams for 7 years. And I heard there's a woman here who once saved my life. Thought I'd see if maybe we could start over. Try to build something normal, something good, something that doesn't involve anyone trying to kill us. Mia appeared behind Serena, 13 now, tall, growing into someone strong and fierce and remarkable. You're the man with the scary eyes, she said. I am, though my eyes aren't as scary as they used to be. Good. Scary eyes are overrated. Mia looked at her mother, then at Lucien. Are you going to come in or just stand in the hallway being dramatic? Lucien laughed. It was rusty, like he'd forgotten how. If it's okay with your mother, Serena stepped aside, opened the door wider. Let him in, because 7 years ago she'd saved a stranger's life and it had cost her everything, her home, her job, her safety, her peace. But it had also given her this, a man who'd spent 7 years fighting to become someone worthy of being saved, a daughter who'd learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. A life built on ashes that had somehow grown into something beautiful. Lucien stepped inside. The door closed behind him, and outside rain fell on Portland streets, washed away the past, made room for whatever came next. Mrs. Chen arrived an hour later with fresh croissants and coffee. She took one look at Lucien sitting at the kitchen table with Serena and Mia and smiled. You survived. Barely. The best victories are the ones we barely survive. She set down the food. Will you stay? If they'll have me, we'll have you, Mia said immediately. But you have to tell me stories about the places you've been, the things you've seen, all of it. Some of it isn't appropriate for 13-year-olds. I've seen men die. I think I can handle your stories. Lucien looked at Serena. She nodded. All right, but we start with the boring stuff. Build up to the dramatic parts. They sat around the table. 4 people who'd been shaped by violence but had chosen to become more than their scars. Who'd survived when survival seemed impossible. Who'd found family in the wreckage of criminal empires and federal investigations and 7 years of fighting in shadows. There's something you should know, Lucy said after they'd eaten, after Mia had extracted 3 stories and promised she'd get more tomorrow. After Mrs. Chen had left to prep for the morning bakery rush. The work I did, the program, it's ongoing. They might call me back someday if things get desperate enough. Will you go? I don't know. Part of me wants to say no. Wants to stay here. Build a normal life. Be the man you and Mia deserve. He paused. But part of me knows that there are still people out there hurting innocents, still trafficking victims, still selling weapons to terrorists, and I'm uniquely positioned to stop them. So you'd leave again. Only if there was no other choice. Only if lives depended on it. And only if you understood why. His hand found hers across the table. But I'd come back. Every time. I'd find my way back to you. That's the difference now. Before, I had nothing worth returning to. Now I have everything. Serena squeezed his hand. 7 years ago, I spotted a stain on a wine cork, saved a stranger's life, set all of this in motion. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet, if I'd just poured the wine and walked away. You'd still be working double shifts at a restaurant. I'd be dead. The Castellanos would still be operating. Your father's death would have meant nothing. But Mia would have been safe, would have grown up normal, wouldn't have nightmares. Maybe, or maybe something else would have happened. Some other violence, some other tragedy. We don't get to see the roads not taken. Lucien's voice was gentle. But I know this, you saved me, saved your daughter, brought down empires, your father died fighting. That's not nothing, that's everything. They sat in silence. Rain drummed against the windows. Outside, the city moved through its nightly rhythms. People coming home from work, couples having dinner, kids finishing homework, normal people doing normal things. And inside this apartment, 4 survivors tried to figure out how to join them. How to become normal after everything they'd seen and done and survived. I want to show you something, Serena said. She went to her bedroom, came back with a wooden box.
Inside were the wine labels from her father's collection, the ones that had hidden the records that changed everything. I kept these, never knew why. Maybe sentiment, maybe hoping I'd understand him better someday. She handed one to Lucien, the Canubi label, the one her father had made for her, per la mia piccola. My father was a coward in a lot of ways, worked for criminals, made terrible choices, got himself killed. But he also loved me. In his own broken way, he loved me, and he tried to give me tools to survive the world he'd helped create. He succeeded. Did he, or did I just get lucky? Both. It's always both. Lucien set down the label. My father was a monster, killed your father, shaped me into a killer, built an empire on blood and suffering, but he also taught me to survive, to fight, to never give up. He paused. I spent my whole life hating him, trying not to become him, but maybe the only way to truly defeat the monsters who made us is to use what they taught us to build something better. Is that what we're doing? Building something better? I hope so. I really hope so. Mia appeared in the doorway. She'd been listening. Can I say something? Always, Serena said. I think you're both wrong. Your fathers didn't make you. They influenced you, shaped you, but you made choices. Choices to be better, to protect people instead of hurting them, to sacrifice yourselves so others could be safe. She moved into the room. That's not your father's, that's you. And that's what I'm going to remember. Not the violence, not the fear, but the choices you made when everything was terrible and making good choices seemed impossible. When did you get so wise? Lucien asked. I learned from people who made impossible choices and survived them. Mia smiled. Now stop being philosophical and watch a movie with me. I've had enough heavy conversations for one night. They watched a movie, some animated thing about dragons and friendship. Mia fell asleep halfway through, curled against her mother's side. Lucien sat on the other side of the couch, not touching, just present. When the movie ended and Mia was tucked into bed, Serena and Lucien stood on the small balcony overlooking the street. Rain had stopped. The air smelled clean, fresh. What happens now? Serena asked. Now we try. We build a life. I find a job doing something legal. You keep running your bookstore. Mia keeps growing up and being remarkable. Mrs. Chen keeps making croissant. He looked at her. And maybe, if we're very lucky and very careful, we get to be happy. Actually happy. Not just surviving, but living. Think we can do that? After everything? I think we have to try, because if we can't, then the violence wins, the fear wins, the monsters win, and I'm not letting that happen. Serena moved closer. Let herself lean against him. Let herself believe that maybe, somehow, they'd earned this. A chance to be more than survivors. A chance to be people who'd been through hell and came out the other side intact enough to keep going. I still have the ring, she said quietly. The one you gave me 7 years ago. I remember. Were you serious about wanting to marry me? I was. I am. But there's no pressure, no timeline. I'm not going anywhere. We have time to figure out what this is, what we want it to be. Good. Because I have no idea what I want. Just that I want you here. Want this. Want whatever comes next as long as we face it together. Together. I can do together. They stood on the balcony until the cold drove them inside. Made tea. Talked until dawn about nothing important. About books and rain and the best coffee shops in Portland. About the small normal things that people who weren't running for their lives got to care about. And when morning came, Lucien was still there. Still real. Still choosing to stay. Mia woke to find him making breakfast. French toast, slightly burned but edible. You cook? She asked. Barely, but I'm learning. Good. Because Mama can't cook either. Mrs. Chen usually feeds us. Then we'll learn together. Over breakfast, Serena's phone rang. Sarah Chen. I heard you have a visitor, Sarah said without preamble. News travels fast. I make it my business to know where my assets are, even the ones who've been deactivated. Is he safe? Really safe? Or is this temporary? As safe as anyone can be in his situation. The Russian operation created enough chaos that tracking him is low priority for hostile actors. His face has been altered. His prints have been scrubbed from international databases. For all practical purposes, Lucien Moretti died in federal custody 7 years ago. But he'll never be completely safe. Neither will you. That's the price of the life you both lived. You can't erase the past completely. You can only build something strong enough on top of it that it stops mattering as much. Is that supposed to be encouraging? It's supposed to be honest. You both survived something that kills most people. You both made choices that destroyed criminal empires and saved countless lives. Now you get to live with the consequences. Sometimes those consequences look like peace. Sometimes they look like occasional danger. You manage it and you move forward. Thank you. I think. Call me if you need anything. And Serena, tell him he did good work, better than anyone expected. He earned this. Sarah hung up. Serena relayed the message to Lucy. He nodded but didn't say anything. Just finished his French toast and helped Mia with her homework while Serena got ready for work. Normal. It was almost aggressively normal. And somehow that made it perfect. Months passed, became a year, then another. Lucien got a job teaching self-defense at a community center. Used his skills to help women protect themselves. Used his story, the sanitized version, to show people that background didn't determine destiny. Serena was promoted to assistant manager at the bookstore, started a book club, made friends, built something resembling a social life. Mia thrived, made honor roll, joined debate team, started talking about college, about becoming a lawyer, about fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. Mrs. Chen's bakery became a neighborhood institution. She hired 2 employees, started teaching classes on pastry technique, and slowly, carefully, they built something that looked like a family. Not perfect. Lucien still had nightmares. Serena still woke up, sometimes convinced men with guns were coming through the door. Mia still flinched at unexpected loud noises. But they had each other, and that was enough. 2 years after Lucien returned, Serena found him on the balcony late at night. He was staring at the street below with the expression he got when memories press too hard. "You okay?" she asked. "Thinking about my father, about the people I killed when I worked for him, about the lives I destroyed." "You can't change the past." "I know, but I can't forget it either. Some nights I lie awake adding up the body count, trying to figure out if anything I've done since then balances the scales." "Does it?" "No, it never will. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is to keep trying anyway, keep fighting for something better, keep choosing to be more than what I was made to be." Serena moved beside him. "My father once told me that wine has 2 lives, the life on the vine and the life in the bottle. Said the vine determines the grape's potential, but the bottle determines what it becomes." "Your father was a philosopher." "My father was a drunk who worked for criminals, but occasionally he said something profound." She leaned against him. "I think people are like that too. We're shaped by where we come from, but we choose what we become." "And what have I become?" "Someone who fights for people who can't fight for themselves. Someone who came back. Someone who's trying to build something good from the wreckage of something terrible." She looked up at him. "Someone I love." He kissed her. Soft, gentle, full of all the things they'd survived to get here. When they pulled apart, he said, "I still have a question I never got to ask 7 years ago." "I know. Can I ask it now?" "You can ask." He pulled out the ring, the one he'd given her 7 years ago in that sterile federal room, the one she'd kept in a box beside her bed every night since. "Serena Vale, will you marry me? Will you let me try to be the man you and Mia deserve? Will you give me a chance to build something real with you?" She took the ring, slipped it on her finger, perfect fit. Yes to all of it. Yes. They were married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Just Mrs. Chen, Mia, and Sarah Chen as witnesses. No big production, no elaborate plans, just 2 people who'd survived the impossible, making promises to keep trying. Mia stood beside her mother as maid of honor, 13 years old and radiant. During the vows, Lucien looked at both of them. "I promise to protect you, to come home every time, to be better tomorrow than I was today, to show you every day that the man with the scary eyes is just a man, flawed, broken in places, but trying, always trying." Serena's vows were simpler. "I promise to keep saving your life, over and over, for as long as we both live, Because 7 years ago, I spotted a stain on a wine cork and decided you were worth the risk. I was right then. I'm right now. You're worth every risk, every sacrifice, everything. They kissed. Mrs. Chen cried. Sarah Chen smiled approvingly. Mia rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her grin. And somewhere in the vast universe of choices and consequences and paths not taken, Giovanni Russo and all the victims of the Castellano Empire and everyone who died in the war between criminal empires rested a little easier. Because two people had survived, had chosen each other, had built something beautiful from ashes. And that, in the end, was the only victory that mattered, the only revenge worth taking, the only promise worth keeping. Years later, when Mia graduated college and started her career as a civil rights attorney, she asked her mother about that night in the restaurant, about the poisoned wine, about the choice that changed everything. "Do you regret it?" Mia asked. "Saving him? Starting all of this?" Serena looked at Lucien across the room, older now, gray in his hair, more scars, but alive, here, theirs. "No," she said simply. "I don't regret it, because it gave me this. It gave me you growing up safe. It gave me a family built on choice instead of obligation. It gave me love I never thought I'd have." She paused. "And it gave the world one less monster and one more person fighting for something better. Was it worth it, everything you went through? Ask me when I'm old and gray and surrounded by grandchildren I never thought I'd live long enough to meet." Mia laughed. "That's not an answer." "Sure it is. It's the only answer that matters. We survived. We're here. We're happy. Everything else is just story." And she was right. 7 years of running, of fighting, of surviving when survival seemed impossible. All of it led here. To a small house in Portland. To a family built from broken pieces. To a love story that started with poisoned wine and ended with promises kept. To a life worth living. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. They had survived. They had loved. They had won.